Chapter 3074. The new members recruited by the supernatural organization were mostly from small families or spiritualists. They didn't have much background or power. Although Oluntarai was also from a small family, her knowledge and family background were definitely different from other small families. So, even if the supernatural organization was interested in Oluntarai, Oluntarai might not be interested in the supernatural organization. Don't say that the supernatural organization had its own pride. Since they were talents, they still had to fight for what they should. After watching the live stream for a while, Chen Zhao drove home. Frigga was teaching little Jerlin and Larissa. Jerlin could already use a few low-level spells. Larissa didn't learn anything. She was brought around by Frigga every day and watched Frigga teach Jerlin. To Frigga, Jerlin's innate talent was absolutely astonishing. Jerlin could learn all the low-level spells after seeing Frigga use them once. Even Frigga, the Queen of Gods, had never seen Jerlin's talent. But Frigga wasn't in a hurry to teach Jerlin advanced spells. Even advanced spells weren't difficult for Jerlin. But what Jerlin lacked now wasn't advanced spells, but magic knowledge. After all, Jerlin didn't need to fight now. Ordinary spiritualists might lack advanced spells. But neither Chen Zhao nor Frigga lacked advanced spells. Cultivation was similar to construction. Tall buildings were built from the ground. There was no such thing as a castle in the air. Chen Zhao was like this, and so were the other cultivators. Even a god needed to grow from a young god. Suddenly giving a regular person the power of a god. What were the consequences? They would either explode or go berserk. Frigga was the god of magic. She taught many children. Even Odin's magic was taught by her. She knew what a talented child needed. The more solid the foundation, the higher the height in the future. As for little Larissa, she was still too young. She didn't even know what danger was. Therefore, before little Larissa had a clear understanding of magic, neither Chen Zhao nor Frigg would teach little Larissa magic. Jerlin hadn't started learning Nirvana yet. It was the same reason as little Larissa. Nirvana was too dangerous. When he came back, little Larissa and Jerlin jumped into his arms. Frigga walked slowly to Chen Zhao. Are they good? Chen Zhao asked. If you insist on my answer, then I'll do as you wish, Frigga said with a bitter smile. Teacher Frigg, I'm very obedient, Jerlin replied with her eyes wide open. I'm not being disobedient. Using fireballs to fry fish is not something a lady should do. Where is Jerlin going to hit with the fireball? About Vanaheim, when do you plan to do it? I need to prepare and find helpers, Chen Zhao said. Just like the last time he went to Asgard. This time, he was going to face Zeus, a god king like Odin. No matter what, Chen Zhao wouldn't act rashly. Moreover, Frigga had said that she had not only sealed Zeus, but the entire Olympus. Even Frigga could not provide any more information about Zeus. Therefore, he had to be more careful. From the information Chen Zhao had about the Olympian gods, Chen Zhao could tell that the Olympian gods were very powerful. Zeus was stronger than Odin, not weaker. First of all, the characteristics of the two races determined that the Olympian gods were better at war. As a god king, Zeus' strength might be similar to Odin's, but in terms of battle prowess, he was probably much stronger. Most importantly, when Chen Zhao had faced Odin, Odin had been a remnant soul. He had less than 10% of his strength, but even so, he was still in danger. What about Zeus, the king of the Olympians? How strong would he be? Also, when Frigga unlocks the seal, will Zeus be the only one who comes out? These days, he had been studying the Olympian gods. Of course, most of the information was obtained from Ares. Ares, on the other hand, had no inhibitions. He said whatever Qin Zhao wanted to know. He seemed to have sensed Qin Zhao's intentions. He even challenged Qin Zhao to a fight, wanting to participate in the battle. Qin Zhao had always been doubtful about this, even though he had signed a contract with Ares. But would Ares really be willing to fight for him? Nevertheless, Ares was still someone Qin Zhao had to pay attention to. As the god of war of the Olympians, Ares' strength was undeniable. As for helpers, Qin Zhao had contacted everyone in his small group. Zhang Tianyi, Bifla, and Mary, the 23rd blood. They had all given him an answer. As long as Qin Zhao's price was high enough, they were willing to help. What good things did the Olympians have? That was a must. Frigga had sealed the Olympians along with Mount Olympus. The Olympians were a bunch of bandits and locusts. They kept waging wars and robbing other races. So, there must be a lot of good things. But Qin Zhao didn't know what the scale would be this time. So, Qin Zhao was considering if he should find 2 more helpers. But these helpers wouldn't be from the supernatural organization. Even if they wanted to, they wouldn't be able to help. So, he couldn't find anyone lower than Shang Qing. Qin Zhao wanted to find perfected Qingping and perfected Wusu from China. Both of them were strong enough to deal with this. But he didn't know what they wanted. Qin Zhao wanted to have Zhang Tianyi ask them first. Then he would see what they wanted. Qin Zhao's attitude toward this battle was even more than when he'd fought against the Asur race. After all, he didn't know that he wouldn't be facing just Odin last time, but the entire Asur race. But it was different this time. When Frigga opened the seal, who knew if a Zeus or a bunch of Olympians would come out? So, the preparation might take a month or a year. In any case, he would only act when he felt that he was fully prepared. Frigga didn't rush Qin Zhao. After all, she knew that this battle wasn't a child's game. It would be a battle of the gods. An unprecedented battle that might not happen in 100 years. It wasn't surprising that he didn't prepare anything for this battle. For Qin Zhao, this was an unprecedented gamble. It was even more risky than fighting against the Asur race. Last time, Qin Zhao had been tricked by Bader. But this time, Qin Zhao still went in despite knowing the danger. After all, a complete world was a huge temptation for Qin Zhao. Chapter 3075. It took Oluntarai, Orderon, Manit, and I left 2 days to get there. Finally, they found a lone player and invited him to join their team. This was also the only player they had found who was alone. They were pretty sure that everyone else had been eliminated. Their team was also the only 5 people left in the team. They were the only hope of the righteous faction. If all 5 of them were eliminated, the evil faction would win immediately. The 5th member was also a lone player. She was also the 2nd female member after Oluntarai. Her name was Haley. Haley's achievements were quite impressive. She had taken out 2 spies and eliminated 2 players who had been tricked by the spies. In other words, Haley had eliminated 4 players on her own. After listening to Haley's explanation, everyone was surprised by Haley's ability. Even Oluntarai might have been eliminated by Haley when she wasn't familiar with Haley. Oluntarai was also glad that Haley wasn't part of the team when they first formed the team. Otherwise, she might have been eliminated by Haley. Just like the few people who were eliminated by Haley. Manit confirmed that Haley wasn't lying through her teeth. Haley's first identity was the cleric, and her second identity was the saintess. Both identities had special abilities. Her third identity was even more special, the chief judge. When she activated her ability, anyone who lied in front of her would have their abilities halved, while her abilities would be doubled. Similarly, she couldn't lie to anyone. It could be said that Haley's third identity was the bane of spies. The deception skills that spies had were completely useless in front of Haley. That was why Eluntarai was glad that she didn't meet Haley earlier. Otherwise, Eluntarai wouldn't be able to hide anything from Haley. Also, it was almost impossible for her to defeat Haley when she was lying. After confirming that they couldn't find any other players, the team of 5 started exploring the entire map. They had searched every special area. The team's ability gradually increased, and they also obtained many special items. At the same time, they obtained more and more information. The 5 of them arrived at Death Canyon. This was the last special area they could search. Haley was the NPC of Death Canyon. Alright, enough with the nonsense. My test for you is that you need to endure my attacks for an hour or injure me. Everyone was eager to try. After all, their strength had increased significantly over the past few days. Shall we begin now? Minette asked. You can open. Before Helise could finish her sentence, Orderon attacked first. He strode forward and threw a punch at Helise. With a wave of her hand, Heres released a cloud of black gas. A bone claw reached out from the black gas and grabbed Ao Deluan in the air. Please wait until I'm done. Helise tossed Audron a few meters away. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They had all witnessed Orderon's strength over the past few days. In terms of combat strength, he was second only to Alantir. However, he was instantly subdued by the Gothic girl in front of him. This Gothic girl was so strong. Could they really last an hour against this Gothic girl? Even Eluntarai felt hopeless. The difference between them was too great. Don't worry, I won't attack you directly. Then, Helith raised a hand. The ground they were standing on began to loosen, and white-boned claws extended from the ground. 10, 100, 1,000. Countless skeletons stood up. Alright, your opponents are them. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air again. So powerful. Such powerful undead magic. The goth girl looked younger than their age. However, her strength was unbelievably strong. The individual strength of these revived skeletons was very weak. However, when their numbers reached a certain level, they would be like a real army, causing people to feel despair. The team began to defend against the siege of the skeletons. They had formed a certain level of tacit understanding and cooperation. However, as the battle went on, their stamina and magic power were being depleted quickly. They also began to make mistakes in their teamwork. However, they all had a large amount of magic equipment and tools. No, we can't let this continue, Eluntarai yelled, we have to stop her. Otherwise, our game will end here. Eluntarai, can you stop these skeletons alone? If it's for a short period of time, I should be able to, Eluntarai answered. How long? 5 minutes. You're responsible for stopping these skeletons. The 4 of us will attack that woman together, Minette said. Minette was not trying to defeat Helith. Based on their lineup and the strength Helith had displayed, it was almost impossible to defeat Helith. Therefore, their strategy was to disrupt Helith's rhythm of casting magic. The skeletons that she summoned also required a huge amount of magic power to maintain. If they could disrupt Helith's magic output, then they could force her to stop summoning the skeletons. However, when the 4 of them surrounded Helith, Helith still used one move and subdued the 4 of them. Too strong. She did not give them any chance at all. Eluntarai was also a little desperate. They had thought that with the special area they had found and their knowledge of the game, almost no one could kill them instantly. However, Helith had changed their knowledge again. The 4 of them were directly trapped in the bone prison and could not fight back at all. Seeing that the 4 of them were trapped, Eluntarai could not hold back anymore. Eluntarai threw out a metal ring and injected all her magic power into it. Instantly, the metal ring gave off a shocking light. The light engulfed the entire area. Even the black gas around Helis was annihilated by the light. At the same time, the bone prison that trapped the four of them and the skeletons around them were destroyed. Aluntarai weakly sat on the ground. This was her trump card. It was supposed to be used against the evil gods. She did not expect to use it now. But she had no choice. If she did not use it now, then they would all die. Then the evil gods would not be able to do anything. Ring of Annihilation, not bad, but you did not unleash its power. If this is all you've got, then I can only apologize. The black gas around Helith circled again. At the same time, she raised her right hand and pointed at Aluntarai. The black light flashed. Aluntarai was already in despair. Even her trump card was unscathed against Helios. Chapter 3076. Suddenly, a figure dashed in front of the black light. Alderaan. The black light went through him. However, he weakened the power of the black light. Ilef formed a strange hand seal with both of his hands. A triangular shield made of light appeared in front of him. The black light landed on the triangular shield and was deflected away. However, the triangular shield was shattered as well. Ilef fell to the ground weakly. Aluntarai and Helis didn't expect Alderaan and Ilef to stop them at all costs. Aluntarai reacted immediately after the momentary lapse in concentration. Aluntarai pointed her palm at Helis. The moment Alderaan landed, a purple light burst out from Aluntarai's palm. Arcane Barrage. Foo! Countless arcane cannons were fired at Helis. Oh, using spells outside the game. Helis didn't do anything. The mist of death around her automatically swept away all the arcane bullets that came into contact with the mist of death instantly dissipated. It's useless. The fog of death can kill everything, whether it's living or dead, Harry said indifferently. Aluntarai's lips curled into a smile. I know that's the death mist and I know its characteristics. If it was during normal times, facing a monstrous spiritualist like Helis, Aluntarai would run as far away as she could. Fortunately, this was a game. At least, in this game, no one would die, be it an NPC or an enemy. So Aluntarai had more time and opportunities to deal with the enemy. She could also try more methods. At least, she didn't have to worry about her life or death. Suddenly, the death mist in front of Helis exploded. Helios took a step back and looked surprised. But then she couldn't help but smile. Congratulations, you've passed. Helis looked at Aluntarai, not a bad plan. The death mist was a special existence that could attack and defend. It could also kill spells. However, it required a process. Spells like the arcane cannons would quickly destroy the death mist. The arcane cannons wouldn't even be able to penetrate the death mist. However, Aluntarai hid another spell inside the arcane cannons. A purple star, an extremely dangerous spell. As long as it touched a physical object or was affected by other magic, it would immediately explode. He hid the purple star in the arcane spell barrage. Apart from the resemblance between the two, it was also because of the instability of the purple star. The purple star would not wait for the fog of death to dissolve it. The moment the death fog touched the purple star, it would cause the purple star to become unstable and explode. As a reward, each of your weapons will be enchanted with the ability to harm or even kill the gods. At the same time, I also have a message for you. In order to kill the gods, you need to gather the dragon's blessing, the death curse, the devil's poison, and the power of God. If you lack any of these conditions, the difficulty of facing the gods will increase exponentially. Helith glanced at the injured Audran and Ilev, and the mist of death spread out. What are you doing? Don't be nervous. I'm just giving them some treatment. It's an extra gift. The mist of death shrouded the two of them. Helith looked at the three nervous people and smiled calmly. Not only can the death fog devour the enemy's life force, it can also return life force. Although the amount is small, it's still good for their injuries. The life force that the death fog devoured did not disappear into thin air. Instead, it digested the life force and used it to strengthen itself. Therefore, as long as the death fog continued to kill, it would continue to grow. However, for a powerhouse like Helith who was only one step away from the Shang-Qing stage, there was no point in strengthening the death fog, especially when it came to killing. The death fog was very useful, but it was not very useful in battles of the same level. Therefore, the death fog could also weaken itself and return life force to others. Of course, the amount of life force returned was quite limited. Because of the contamination of the death fog, normal people would not be able to withstand too much life force. Otherwise, the death fog would directly contaminate the other party, which would instead cause more serious problems. Generally speaking, this life return skill was quite useful in battles to save oneself or one's teammates, or to quickly heal a certain degree of injuries. However, relying on this method to obtain a large amount of life force was undoubtedly a pipe dream. After the death fog receded, Orderon and Ilef slowly stood up. Orderon, Ilef, how are you? A little weak, Anne. I'm hungry, Orderon said. I've only slightly healed your injuries. That doesn't mean they've recovered too. I suggest that you find something to fill your stomachs after you leave this place. There are many small animals in this forest, Helith said. Harold said, all right, you have obtained the curse of death from me. You can leave now. Aluntarai glanced at Helith. Can I ask you a question? Go ahead. Did you really fall for my plan just now, or did you purposely go easy on me? Our levels are too different, Helith said calmly. If I'm too serious, you won't have any chance of passing, Harold said indifferently. So you're saying that you purposely went easy on me? No, the plan itself was quite good. I was able to discover it because of my uniqueness. If it was someone else, they probably would have fallen for it, Helith said. And I admire your wisdom in battle. How about joining my team after this game is over? My team lacks an intelligent member. Your team. There are 5 teams in the supernatural organization, Helith said. I'm the leader of one of them. Are the other team leaders as strong as you? Our team leaders are about the same. What if I refuse? Helith shrugged. Then I'm sorry. Aren't you going to do something? You're not worth me breaking the rules. Looks like I'm not that important. The information you received earlier is how much we value you. We are even willing to offer such a valuable prize for you. However, this prize is not something that can be easily obtained, Harold said. However, you are not the only choice. I need to think about it. Aluntarai did not answer Helith directly. Helith smiled. She knew what Aluntarai was trying to do. She was worried that if she refused now, she would lose the chance to get the relic. She was worried that the supernatural organization would do something behind the scenes. Chapter 3077. In fact, she was overthinking. The supernatural organization wanted to take her in. But it wasn't to the point where she had to go. Plus, Manet's performance wasn't much worse than hers. Although the team was led by Aluntarai, some things couldn't be done by her alone. It could only be said that Aluntarai was the leader of this team of 5. The others had their own roles. After working together for a few days, their teamwork had reached a high level. At the same time, their abilities had reached a new level. On the 7th day, they finally reached the final area. Evil God's Altar, according to the information provided by Carrie and Xiao He. If they couldn't defeat them on the fifth day, the evil god would revive according to the plot. In other words, the evil god had been revived. Carrie and Xiao Hector blocked the way of Aluntarai and the others. Do you want to fight now? Aluntarai looked at Carrie and Xiao He. Only one of us will go up, Jiao Liwen said. At the same time, she turned to look at Xiao He. Shall I go? Sure, go ahead. Xiao He didn't object. No one dared to be careless. After all, Carrie and Xiao He were the second boss at the end of the level. Don't worry, Carrie said with a smile. We're not that strong. At least, we're much weaker than the ones before. Audrin, Ilef, and Haley all sighed in relief. But Aluntarai and Manit had more on their minds. Just because they were weak didn't mean they were easy. For example, their team had encountered a few powerful beings before. They were so strong that they couldn't defeat them with brute force. But they all had some limitations. For example, Harry's. Was she strong? If she wanted to, she could instantly wipe out the team of 5. They had no chance of winning with brute force alone. However, Helis only used the simplest magic and went easy on him. Only by going easy on them could they pass the area and get the reward. Maybe Carrie and Xiao He weren't as strong as Harris's team. However, to the 5-man team, he was still an unreachable existence. Now, Carrie and Xiao He had no limitations. In other words, they would give their all to deal with this challenge. The only fortunate thing was that only one of them would be playing. Aluntarai and Manette didn't have much hope for this battle. Compared to the host, the supernatural organization, their strength had been completely revealed. He was so powerful that it made one's hair stand on end. As for Carrie and Xiao He, they were the second bosses. Even if the two of them said that they weren't strong. But the supernatural organization was full of experts. He was definitely one of the top rankers. As for the so-called weak, perhaps it was just a humble way of saying it to the few people he had met before. Therefore, this battle was definitely not as easy as others thought. Carrie walked to the center of the field. You guys can start now. They were caught off guard, but it made the 5 of them feel an unprecedented pressure. Arun Terry hoped that Carrie would be prepared. This way, they could also determine Carrie's path through the magic she cast. From there, they could make corresponding preparations. At the start of the battle, Haley launched a probing attack. However, as soon as she made her move, Haley felt danger approaching. Haley suddenly wanted to dodge to the side. A piercingly cold chi whizzed past her. There was nothing. There was clearly nothing. Where did the attack come from? Everyone stared at Carrie in shock. What happened just now? Carrie clearly didn't move at all. She didn't even see the attack method. Boom, the mountain wall behind Haley was smashed. Large amounts of rocks fell. Everyone was startled. What kind of attack was that? It was so terrifying. Carrie, is too much. Xiao He had to remind her. Please don't kill her. They wouldn't be able to handle it. Everyone's expression changed. Is this what you call weak? Isn't your modesty a little too much? She destroyed a mountain wall with one attack. If this is weak, then what are we? Holy Sense Net. Haley hurriedly covered a special network. This network didn't have any attack power, nor was it used to control or restrict. It was used to sense and detect. It was mainly used to deal with enemies who were good at hiding. At the same time, it could detect obscure magic attacks. As expected, after the Holy Sense Net was laid, at once Haley noticed something unseen beside Carrie. It wasn't a spirit body. All of them were spiritualists, and no spirit body could escape their vision and observation. Orderon, Haley warned. That thing's going for you. Boom, Orderon was shocked. He dodged the attack almost instinctively after Haley's warning. What kind of attack is it? I don't know. It should be some kind of magical beast. It's huge. Attack her body. Aluntarai shouted. This won't do. Many invisible magical beasts have appeared around her again, Haley reminded again. Four more. Jiao Liwen stood in place without moving an inch. In fact, her mission today was to drag the battle out, so that the people watching in the background would have enough time to observe. That girl called Haley can detect Carrie's Chanwu. What kind of spell is she using? Chen Zhao asked, watching the battle on the screen. The Net of Saint Awareness is a very special kind of magic. It's a type of detection magic, similar to a regional network. Most of the things that happen in this region will be detected by her Net of Saint Awareness. Chen Zhao nodded. The range was a bit small, but it was similar to a domain. Carrie, go easy on her, Chen Zhao said. We can't see anything with you like this. Jiao Liwen rubbed her ears helplessly. If they can use the equipment well, they still have a chance to beat me. It's only been a few days. They don't have time to learn. If we play this game again, it's best to give the equipment instruction manuals. What are you thinking? This is an RPG game. There's no instruction manual. Just then, Orderon charged over without a care. However, he was quickly blocked by a monster beast beside Jiao Liwen. Orderon collided with the demon and rolled a few times before standing up again. He started running around Carrie. After circling to Carrie's back, he charged at her again. But he was blocked by another demon beside Carrie. Chapter 3078. Is the guy called Audron an enhancer? Chen Zhao asked. Yes, he's talented, but he only cultivates normal spells, Jolanash said. It should be the Titan's power from the north. As she spoke, Jolanash glanced at Chen Zhao subconsciously. Titan's power. Even Hercules was killed by Chen Zhao. Is this Titan's power related to Titan? Chen Zhao asked. Not really. It's just a spell that strengthens the body and strength. It's just using the name of Titan. Jolanash shrugged. This spell is very popular in the north and it's very widespread. You can get the complete version for a few $100s. So cheap. Chen Zhao was surprised. Actually, this has to do with the government's policy decades ago. Back then, the government wanted to learn from China, so they forcefully collected some secret techniques and spells. Then, they printed them into books and gave them to other spiritualists for free. That's why many spells were made public. Is there a problem? Chen Zhao asked, confused. Of course there's a problem. Not everyone is willing to publicize their magic, especially some families and forces. They have secret skills that others don't have. Just like a high-tech company, do you think those high-tech companies would be willing to publicize their technology for free? This also caused a large number of spiritualists to leave this country. The supernatural world, which was not strong in the first place, became even weaker after that. However, this also caused many spells to become relatively cheap, especially in the north. You can get a set of spells for a few $100s, or even dozens of dollars. Do we have one here? Let me see. A while later, a magic book called Titan's Power was delivered to Chen Zhao. To Chen Zhao, this spell was indeed very ordinary, even mediocre. But looking at the surveillance footage, Audron used this mediocre spell to display a stubborn aura. He wasn't strong, but he tried his best to restrain Carrie. He created gaps and opportunities for his companions. Most of the time, Audron's restraints were very weak. However, his effort was enough to make people cry. At the same time, he was like a cockroach in some hot-blooded anime. He couldn't be killed. It wasn't that he couldn't be killed. If Carrie really wanted to kill him, it would only be a matter of minutes. Instead, Carrie would give him a heavy blow every time, but he would still stand up regardless of his injuries. As for Eluntarai and Minette, their performance in this battle was a little worse. It was mainly because they had too little information about Carrie. From her personal information to her expertise in magic are all unknown. The only thing they knew was that she could summon an invisible magical beast. It was extremely powerful. Other than that, there was no other information. Therefore, it was very difficult for them to analyze and crack Carrie's weaknesses. They had entered the eyes of the supernatural organization because of their outstanding command and tactical abilities. However, due to various reasons, they were unable to display their abilities in this battle. Jialuan, go easy, Chen Zhao ordered. Jiao Liwen felt a little helpless. She was actually going easy on him. The battle was intense. In order to defeat Carrie, Eluntarai and the others had to use some of their trump cards. It was originally used to deal with the final boss, the evil god. But if Carrie couldn't pass this stage, then there was no way to know about the evil god behind her. Carrie's summoned beasts were too difficult to deal with. Mainly, they couldn't sense them with their senses, so they were very passive. Haley's net of divine senses could detect the beasts. But her reminder was still a step too late. If the others couldn't sense the beasts' movements directly, they would continue to be passive. Minette, do you have a way to make those things appear? Minette glanced at Carrie in the middle of the battlefield and said in a low voice, "Dye those things." Do you have a spell like that? As a matter of fact, Eluntarai must have thought of a way to dye an invisible enemy. But what they lacked now was this kind of magic. Eluntarai shook her head. Ilev, do you have a way? Eluntarai looked at Ilev. Ilev's performance in this battle was also very low. If it's to make her summon magical beasts appear, I don't have one. Ilev thought for a moment. But I have a spell that's a large-scale attack. I don't want to hurt you by accident. How large? This entire area will be covered by my spell. Let's give it a try. We just need to be careful. No, most spiritualists can't defend against my spell. Why? Is it very powerful? Eluntarai looked at Ilev in surprise. The spell completely covered this area. Seems like I've underestimated Ilev. It's not very powerful, but it's very troublesome. It's a scent attack. Eluntarai suddenly understood. No wonder it could cover such a large area. We can give it a try. The summoned magical beasts most likely have a sensitive sense of smell. Your scent attack might be very effective. Ilev took a step forward and suddenly shouted, Ao Deluan, step back. As he spoke, Ilev suddenly pushed forward, and a red sphere shot towards Carrie. However, the red sphere was blocked by something halfway. Ilev quickly clapped his hands a few times, and several red spheres flew out. Several red spheres were shattered by Shu Wu again. However, the red spheres that were shattered suddenly filled with red dust. It hurts, my eyes hurt, achoo. Audryn was closer and was the first to come into contact with the red dust. This feeling. Haley soon felt it too. She felt like she couldn't even open her eyes. Tears kept flowing. The red dust wasn't some other spell. It was chili powder. Right now, the air was filled with chili powder. Soon, everyone started crying and coughing. So did Eluntarai and Manit. Even though they were already on guard. But Ilev's attack still exceeded their expectations. This kind of attack was too vicious. Ilev's teammates were all caught off guard. So did Wujiu. But he was different. He could switch between physical and incorporeal. So this kind of smell and taste buds attack didn't work on him. But, just because he was useless didn't mean Carrie was useless. She also didn't expect her opponent to use such a strange move. She also couldn't stop her tears and couldn't open her eyes. She lost. Chapter 3079. No one had expected Carrie to lose the battle for such a reason. Carrie might not be as strong as the leaders of the supernatural organization. But there was no doubt about her strength. Even though Carrie had been asked repeatedly to go easy on her. Her strength was there. Unless she was the one who stood still. Otherwise, there was almost no reason for her to lose. Then, Ilev gave him a reason. It wasn't even magic. Carrie couldn't open her eyes because of the spiciness. Her tears flowed profusely. At the same time, she kept coughing and sneezing. It was really an eyesore. Of course, it was a move that killed 1,000 enemies but also injured oneself. Apart from Ilev, everyone was crying and coughing. No matter who went up, they would lose. Standing before the screen, Chen Zhao shuddered. He felt that he would lose too if he went up. If he was caught off guard, he would really lose miserably. The others didn't speak. They probably thought the same. This move was indeed a magical weapon to win by a surprise move. Of course, it had its uses, but it was limited. After using it once, the second time would be much less effective. Xiaohe waved her hand, dispersing the chili powder in the air. She went up to help Carrie up. You're so pitiful. Cough. I want to kill that asterisk shoal. Carrie's eyes were red and swollen. She was very hurt. When she opened her eyes, there was only a slit. She couldn't see anything at all. Tears were still streaming down her cheeks. Xiaohe cast a spirit cleansing spell on Carrie. Only then did Carrie feel a little better. If you want to laugh, laugh, Carrie said in annoyance. It must be hard to hold it in. Xiaohe tied her face and said seriously, no. Okay, it's a little funny. That was the truth. It was indeed hard to hold it in. Carrie had rushed to attack, but ended up in such a pathetic state. Xiaohe let go of Carrie. Stepping forward, she said, okay, you've passed our test. Xiaohe took out a flower pot. This was the grandmother liquid demon. The mother liquid monster stretched out its branches and entangled the 5 of them. The 5 thought that Xiaohe was going to attack them. However, they soon discovered that the tree trunks were healing their injuries. At the same time, it was also transferring a huge amount of magic power to them. Moreover, their mana had recovered, and the mana was still being transferred to them. They were all at a loss. This is the final prize. Before the end of the game, your mana will increase by 100-fold, and your mana recovery speed will be increased by 100-fold. Although this is only temporary, it is a very special experience for you. You can release magic to your heart's content, and you can try magic that you couldn't before. Aluntarai and Manid looked at each other. They didn't expect this kind of reward. However, what shocked them even more was that their next battle would be a battle that was 100 times stronger than them. What did that mean? Did this mean that their enemies would be 100 times more than in the past? Or even more terrifying? However, it had to be said that this was indeed a very special and meaningful experience. 100 times more magic power. They felt that they were close to omnipotent. Alright, after this passage, your final enemy will be at the end. Now, they were more curious about who would play the role of the final boss, the god of evil. The path wasn't far, only a few 100 meters. At the end of the path was an empty stone wall. There was only a huge statue in front of the stone wall. Apart from that, there was nothing else. Don't tell me that the final boss is this statue. If that's the case, I'll be very disappointed, Haley said. Looks like I can blast it into pieces with one spell. Haley sounded very arrogant. She couldn't help it. The 100 times more magic power made her feel like she was floating. Not only her, but the others also felt the same. It seemed that no matter what kind of enemy they faced, they would be killed with one hit. 100 times more magic power. That was how confident she was. It probably has something to do with the statue. Should we try to attack the statue? Orderon asked. What do you think? Aluntarai looked at Manit. Let's try. There are no other clues here, Manit replied. Orderon, you do it. How much power should we use? Should we blast it into pieces? Blast it into pieces. Manit nodded. If the statue was the enemy, then they should use their strongest attack. Even if they couldn't directly win the battle, they could at least inflict the most damage on the enemy. Orderon shouted. The ground around him was shattered by his stomp. A terrifying pressure exploded from Orderon's body. Bang! Orderon dashed forward and punched the statue's chest. In an instant, the statue cracked open. The crack started from the chest. Then, the stone shell began to peel off, revealing the flesh and blood inside. Everyone, attack. Use your strongest attack. Aluntarai suddenly gave the order. Everyone came to their senses and attacked the statue. However, their attacks didn't seem to have any effect. The exposed body was unharmed. Instead, the stone shell covering it kept peeling off. Stop. Aluntarai waved her hand. Everyone stopped their attacks. Everyone stared at the statue, or rather, the giant hidden inside the statue. Finally, the last piece of the stone shell was completely peeled off. The giant's true appearance was revealed. It was a warrior wearing armor and holding a spear. His eyes were golden, and he looked like a Spartan warrior. Is he a human? Should be. Maybe it's the effect of the gigantification spell. Is he going to fight us like this? Other than being big, he doesn't look like anything special. So you're here to challenge him? The giant looked down at the 5 people in front of him. You're the evil god. All right, my boss told me to act as the evil god. The giant said, have you prepared the sealing item? As long as we seal you, we win, right? Yes. The giant nodded and raised his right arm, revealing an electronic watch on his arm. The numbers on this watch represent my life force. You need to reduce my life force by at least 40% before you can use the sealing item. Alright, can we start now? Aluntarai asked. Anytime. The giant nodded. Go. As soon as Aluntarai's voice faded. Suddenly, she noticed that the night scenery was fading away, replaced by a blue sky, white clouds, and green mountains. Welcome to my divine kingdom. Chapter 3080. Kingdom of God. The 5 of them had no idea what was going on. How did he manage to change the sky and earth? And, it was indeed shocking. But, then what? Did he want them to fight in a different environment? The birdsong and the fragrance of the flowers were indeed pleasing to the eyes. But other than that, there didn't seem to be any other use. Alright, Your Excellency God of Evil, this place is not bad. Let's fight. Aluntarai said playfully. Sorry, I'm not your opponent. The giant waved his hand. Boom. Not far away, a mountain peak was about to crumble and fall apart. That's an illusion, right? Maybe. A mountain collapsing. Wasn't this a little too extravagant? Then, a giant that was a few hundred times bigger than the one before them appeared. The giant that was as big as a mountain stood up from the collapsed mountain. The giant's upper body was big and the lower body was small. However, the word small was relative. A body that was close to 100 meters in width was small in the eyes of normal people. As for its height, it was at least 400 meters if not 500 meters. Then, the second mountain collapsed, then the third. Soon, within their field of vision, dozens of mountains collapsed one after another. Under each mountain stood a giant. There were tall, short, fat, and skinny ones. Of course, even the shortest giant was at least 300 to 400 meters tall. Your Excellency God of Evil, you're not asking us to fight them, are you? Aluntarai gulped. Do you think it's here to be an audience? Don't worry, you only need to defeat one of them. How about we fight you instead? Aluntarai said bitterly. You're not qualified. If you can't even defeat a warrior in my kingdom, what makes you think you can fight me? You call that thing a warrior? They were once defeated by me. All the defeated will become a warrior in my kingdom. Of course, don't worry, you won't. Is it because this is a game? No, because you're not qualified. The 5 of them wanted to curse. May I ask if it's possible to find a real evil god to play your role? I think you have a better chance of winning that way. I don't think so. I'm the only one under my boss who's closest to this role. I haven't asked for your name yet. Ares, yes, the Ares you've heard of. The 5 of them were dumbfounded. Are you kidding me? Everyone was here to play games. Do you have to be so serious? Why did you bring a war god here? We want a real evil god. He wasn't going to fight some god of war. How were they supposed to fight? Although they are not gods, they are still the legendary titans. As a concession to you, you can choose your opponent. The 5 of them were going crazy. You call this accommodating? Everyone's gaze fell on Ares. Don't make the dumbest choice. They all knew that this would be the stupidest choice. But at least Ares' body size was still within acceptable range. As for the titans, they couldn't even reach the toes of these titans, so how could they fight? Aluntarai smiled bitterly. She now fully believed that the supernatural society would offer an artifact as a prize. Because, it was impossible for anyone to get the prize. Ares raised the spear in his hand high up. In the Holy Realm, I can use all the power here, including these warriors. Ares threw the spear. Everyone turned around and saw a mushroom cloud rising from afar. Everyone shuddered at the sight of it. Forget it, there was no way to fight this battle. Around 30 seconds later, a terrifying shockwave rushed towards them. The shockwave from a dozen kilometers away was already too much for them to handle. How were they supposed to fight? Manit and Aluntarai looked at each other and exchanged glances. Manit shook his head. Manit had been trying to determine if it was an illusion or not. But the result made his heart go cold. All of this was real. It wasn't an illusion, it was real. Everything here was real. Aluntarai took a deep breath. We surrender. Orderon's mouth twitched, but in the end, he didn't stop Aluntarai from surrendering. Surrender. Yes, we surrender. All right, the game is over, Ares said in a disappointed tone. Sir Ares, can I ask you a question? Go ahead. Can we really win against you? Of course not, why would you think so? No, I mean it's within the rules of the game. Yes, death curse, dragon's blessing, devil's poison, God's power, if you use them well, I will have to suppress my own power according to the rules of the game. And according to the rules that the boss gave me, I am not allowed to kill you instantly. This is to increase the fun of the game. Everyone was speechless and a little regretful. Of course, even so, your chances of winning are still very slim. The gap between us is too big, allowing me to see many things that you can't. Although the rules of the game are against me, I still have the rules in my grasp. Ares said, most of your actions can't escape my eyes, which means it will be very hard for you to win against me, even with the restrictions of the rules. Ares paused for a moment before continuing, next, it's time for me to grade you. Aluntarai, A-, Marnet, B+, Alderman, B-, Ilev, A+, Haley, B-. Aluntarai looked at Ilev, a little surprised. No one had expected Ilev to get the highest score, an A+. Aluntarai's score was within her expectations. It wasn't perfect, but it was quite outstanding. Therefore, an A was acceptable. As her assistant, Manet often gave some appropriate suggestions and opinions during battles and tests, which helped the team a lot. Therefore, a B+ was reasonable. Haley and Orderon's performance could be said to be average. Some of them performed well, and some of them performed well in decisive battles. Therefore, AB was acceptable for their performance. However, Aluntarai couldn't accept Ilev's A+. Why? Based on his performance in the last battle, it can be said that he played an absolute role. As for the rest of you, your performance in the last battle was rather insignificant. Based on your performance, you will each receive a reward. As he spoke, Ares waved his hand, and 5 golden magic tools floated in front of him. As the one with the highest score, Ilev can choose first. Chapter 3081. Ilev frowned as he looked at the 5 glittering magic tools in front of him. He knew that they were all good stuff. Every single one of them was shining with a golden light, and every single one of them was filled with an indescribable rhythm. Just from the appearance of these 5 magical tools, he could tell that they were good things that he had never seen before. But he didn't recognize any of them. Ilev subconsciously looked at his teammates beside him. He noticed that Aluntarai was staring at the golden bracelet embedded with 5 gems of different colors in the middle of the bracelet. Aluntarai felt Ilev's gaze and responded with a smile. Ilev was a little depressed. It seemed like Aluntarai wanted that bracelet. Aluntarai definitely had better taste than him. What she wanted would most likely be something very good. Then should he snatch her things? Ilev was hesitating. Ares opened his mouth. You want the best magic tools? Or the one that suits you the best? Ares' words were like a bucket of water that cleared Ilev's mind. Yes, no matter how good a magic tool was, if it didn't suit him, he might not be able to unleash the full potential of the magic tool. It was better to choose the one that suited him the most. Ilev looked at the 5 magic tools and finally set his eyes on a golden staff. There was a purple crystal the size of a fist embedded on the golden staff. I choose the golden staff, Ilev said. Ares nodded and flicked his finger. The golden staff landed in Ilev's hand. Ilev was overjoyed when he held the golden staff in his hand. Good stuff. Ilev could feel the uniqueness of the golden staff the moment he held it in his hand. It might not be the best, but its attributes were extremely compatible with him. Plus, this staff had a powerful amplification effect on his magic. The other 4 were surprised by Ilev's choice, but also envious and jealous. The second one, Aluntarai will choose. Aluntarai stepped forward and chose the golden bracelet that she had been staring at. Aluntarai put the golden bracelet on her wrist immediately with a smile on her face. Although she was not convinced during the grading. After all, she felt that her performance had always been the most outstanding in every battle or postgraduate entrance exam. Only in the last battle did she feel a little out of place. But Ilev was unhappy that he got a higher grade than her because of his outstanding performance in a battle. But at least the reward was not bad. Although he did not choose first. But he still got the best prize, and it was also the prize that was most suitable for him. Aluntarai recognized the 5 pieces of equipment. These 5 pieces of equipment were the legendary gold artifacts. When combined, they formed a set of divine artifacts. They were the golden staff of Saint, the golden bracelet of Riley's gift, the golden ring of Edrin's glory, the golden necklace of Hort, and the golden crown of Queen Daphne's proof. These 5 represented the 5 ultimate magic casters of ancient times. They inherited the magic tools of the former and created their own magic tools, all the way to the 5th, Daphne. She was known as the Magic Empress, so the magic tools she created were also known as the evidence of Empress Daphne. If the 5 pieces belonged to one person, they would be able to unleash the power of a divine weapon. Aluntarai looked at Aleph. Aleph, are you selling your prize? You can name any price you want. Sorry, I don't plan to sell it for now, Aleph replied with a smile. Aluntarai knew when to back off. She did not try to persuade him further. Then, Manit, Orderon, and Haley made their choices. Manit chose the golden ring, Orderon chose the golden necklace, and Haley chose the golden crown. Among them, only Orderon was not satisfied with his choice. Manit looked at Orderon. Orderon, I'll trade with you. Orderon was stunned. Forget it. This is good enough. Mine is not bad either. No, I regret it. Manit stuffed the golden ring into Orderon's hand. Orderon looked at Manit in surprise. This, actually, among the 5 treasures, the golden ring was the one he liked the most. After all, he was an enhancer, so the staff was useless to him. The bracelet, necklace, and the crown that was obviously worn by a woman were not suitable for him. Only the ring was suitable for him. However, Manit chose the golden ring before him. Therefore, only the golden crown and the golden necklace were placed in front of him. In the end, he could only choose the golden necklace. Orderon looked at Manit. Obviously, the golden necklace was not suitable for Manit as well. Orderon, Manit, if you're not satisfied with the prize, I could trade with something else. I promise to trade with something of equal value or make it up to you with money. Audrin was a little hesitant, but Manit helped Audrin answer first. I'm sorry, we're not planning to sell it. Aluntarai felt helpless. She looked at Haley. Haley did not know much, but she was satisfied with her prize. Although she was the last one to choose, she felt that the golden crown was suitable for her. I'm not planning to sell it either, Haley said. Aluntarai could only give up. She only had 1 out of the 5 treasures. Although it was still an exquisite item, if she had 1 more, the effect would be greatly enhanced. If she had 3, the effect would be even greater. With each, the effect would be stronger. If she had 5, she would have the power of a divine gear. Unfortunately, none of the other 4 were willing to help. Okay, the game is over, Ares said and put away the divine kingdom. They returned to the depths of the dark forest. They were still at the end of the path, in front of the mountain wall. It was as if he was in a dream. If not for the prize in their hands, they might really think that it was a dream. Just then, an Asian man walked out of the darkness. Aluntarai recognized the Asian man. He was the Watcher from the first trial. I'm the president of the Supernatural Organization. I'd like to invite you to join us. Of course, it's not compulsory. There's no punishment either. You can accept or reject. Chen Zhao's gaze swept across the 5 people and he said, You 5, let me introduce myself. The 5 did not speak. They seemed to be thinking. If you join us, the competition will be cancelled. Why? To be fair, Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. Plus, the competition was organized to deal with the government. To be honest, it's very low level. Chapter 3082. The supernatural organization doesn't choose members based on your ranking. In fact, I've chosen a few members before. The one I'm most satisfied with only passed the first round. You guys aren't even the strongest, Chen Zhao said straightforwardly. For example, with Miss Haley's power, it's a miracle that she could enter the top 16. Chen Zhao said directly. Haley was a bit depressed. Will I be valued if I join the supernatural organization? Not for now. You can only be an outer member. Unless you're chosen by the leader of an official team, you can only be an outer member before you grow up. Haley was about to continue asking when Manit stepped forward. President, I'm willing to join. At the same time, Manit turned to look at Orderon without saying anything. But Manit's eyes seemed to be saying, let's do it together. Orderon also stepped forward. I'll join too. This was based on his trust in Manit. He got along well with Manit and was very happy. Manit's abilities and intelligence made Orderon feel comfortable. If he could continue working with Manit, it would be a good choice. If I join, will I have a chance to become the leader? Yes, Chen Zhao said with certainty. The supernatural organization will provide all the resources you need, but you have to sign a contract. In principle, it's a lifetime contract. Unless there are special circumstances, you'll always be a member of the supernatural organization. What resources can I get? Haley wasn't surprised by the lifetime contract. After all, most paranormal organizations requested for lifetime contracts. So, it wasn't surprising that the supernatural organization made such a request. Any resources, provided that you can use them. Including asking the God of War for guidance. If you really need it, sure. Chen Zhao glanced at Haley in surprise. Then I'll join, Haley said. Aluntarai hesitated. Only she and Lev hadn't made a choice yet. I want an official member, Aluntarai said. Sure, Chen Zhao said. There's a team that wants an intelligent member like you. What's the difference between an official member and an outer member? Like salary. I don't lack money. Although Aluntarai was from a small family, she was well off and did not lack money at all. I need more resources. In principle, the supply of resources is definitely sufficient. Regardless of whether you are an outer member or an official member, the resources are sufficient. As long as you need it, we will definitely find a way to supply it. What's the difference between an outer member and an official member? The core secrets of the supernatural organization are different, and the missions are different as well. Think about it. Do you think you'll improve faster if you go on a mission with a group of experts or if you go on a mission with a group of people weaker than you? If that's all, it's not very attractive to me. If I want to go on a difficult mission, my family can even arrange for me to enter the Scarlet Church. Blood Mary of the Scarlet Church is a good friend of mine. That's nothing. You can even become an outer disciple of Dragon Tiger Mountain. If you want to show off your connections to me, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. The people I interact with are the top few in the spiritual world. As for the resources those top sects can provide, they might not be better than the supernatural organization. Although the supernatural organization isn't the top sect, we have the top resources. What we lack is talent. Remember what my disciple told you before. You're not the only choice. Please remember this. I admire you, but it doesn't mean I admire you alone. That's right, Lu Wenshu said with a smile. You're a good friend of mine, and that's nothing. You can even become an outer disciple of Dragon Tiger Mountain. Aluntarai was frustrated by Chen Zhao's words, but she could not refute him. She wasn't the top and her talent was just passable. Chen Zhao had made it clear that he liked her intelligence. What Aluntarai had said earlier was actually to make Chen Zhao value her more. But the reality was that while her family could arrange for her to enter the Scarlet Church, she would probably be an outer member, a miscellaneous member with almost no resources. In the end, her so-called bargaining chip was useless to Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao's words stabbed her deeply. He admired her, but not her alone. Okay. Looks like joining the supernatural organization is the best choice, Oluntarai finally agreed. Chen Zhao looked at Lev, who had not said anything yet. Lev, what's your decision? I want to know how high I can go in the end. I'm afraid I can't answer that. Chen Zhao shook his head helplessly. Your height is determined by your talent and will. No one can answer your question. What's the level of an official member? What's the level of a captain? As the president, what's your level? There's no standard for an official member. For example, our Oluntarai is a special talent. Her intelligence is very suitable for the team, so she can be an official member. Of course, if she doesn't have any special talents, she has to be able to eliminate at least calamity-level enemies. Chen Zhao paused. As for the captains, you've seen them a few times before. For example, Heli's in Death Valley is a captain. Gaia in Warrior Hill is also a captain. Jalanash in front of the Elemental Tablet is also a captain. There's no requirement for an official member, but a captain has to be able to deal with at least 2 or more calamity-level enemies alone. Everyone gasped. Deal with 2 or more calamity-level enemies alone. Even one was close to a legend to them. However, thinking back to those people, their strength was indeed not to be underestimated. Therefore, they had the strength to do so. As a team leader, they could accept it. As for me, you just need to know that I'm the strongest in the supernatural organization. Are you satisfied with this explanation? I accept this explanation. Lev nodded. I'm in. Lev actually did not know much. However, he had his own judgment. He was already satisfied with Chen Zhao's answer. Chen Zhao was also satisfied with this result. Chen Zhao had already made arrangements for them. Oluntarai had been asked to join the team by Yingjili. Marnet was also chosen by Jalanash to be her student, so both of them became official members the moment they joined the society. Lev, Orderon, and Haley were all outer members. Chapter 3083. You're Manit, right? Follow me now. After the 5 new members were brought to the supernatural organization, Jalanash went to Manit. The other 4 were a little surprised that Manit was actually the first one to be chosen. Manit was 22 this year, but Jalanash looked even younger than he was. Manit followed Jalanash. Jalanash brought Manit to her team's meeting room. Everyone in the team was there. He's the vice captain, Dongye Tianxi. You can get to know the others. Jalanash didn't give Manit time to talk to his teammates. She pulled down a blackboard. Find a seat. We have a mission on hand. You can listen in. Recently, the crypt demons sent a request. A strange demonic beast appeared near their nest and kept invading their nest. Currently, more than 10 crypt demons have become that demonic beast's meal. Manit raised his hand. Jalanash glanced at him. What's your question? Captain, may I ask what a crypt demon is? It's a non-human race with extremely high intelligence. They live underground and had conflicts with the supernatural organization before, but they've resolved it. Now, they're allies. They provide us with some special resources, and we help them solve some problems. Jalanash spoke quickly. This was her personal style. Okay, you're new. There are many things you don't understand. If there's anything you don't know, you can ask Dongye Tianxi first. Manit looked at Dongye Tianxi and nodded. The demon is estimated to be disaster grade. Its fire element, about 15 meters tall, weighs 20 tons, has great speed and strength, and is good at sneak attacks. Jolanash looked at everyone. That's all we know. Do you have any suggestions? I'll wear fire resistance equipment. I should be able to fight it in strength, Genkira said. So I'll mainly hold it back. You guys are in charge of supporting and attacking. And a set of strength equipment, Jolanash said. According to the information from the crypt demons, the demon's explosive power can even send 100-ton rock flying. Captain, is it more suitable to wear ice-type equipment to fight against fire-type magical beasts? Because the battle will take place underground, Jolanash said. Ice-type equipment will be greatly restricted. Or create a low-temperature zone in a designated area, and then lure the magical beasts into that low-temperature zone. Is that possible? Manit asked. Jolanash couldn't help but take another look at Manit. It's doable. We can use it as a plan, but we need to be fully prepared. If this plan fails, we'll have to face this monster head-on. Also, Dongye Tianxi, remember to bring him to get a set of equipment after the meeting. Soon, the team came up with a plan. Manet's suggestion was accepted. This also allowed him to relax a little. It seemed that there was still a huge gap between his strength and that of the majority of the team members. However, there was still room for him to perform in his field of expertise. Captain, when do we move? We'll start the operation tonight. Are you up for it? If you're worried about your safety, I'll allow you to be absent from this operation. After all, the environment for this operation is rather extreme, and your personal strength is indeed lacking. Captain, I still want to follow the team. I won't be a burden to the team. Alright, then follow us. You definitely don't have to do anything in this battle. Do you understand? Understood. Manet nodded. He was a little nervous about the upcoming operation. But he still knew his role. Manet, how is it? Orderon looked at Manet's newly equipped magical equipment. It feels pretty good. Manet had just received a set of magical equipment. Manet felt like he was floating. His entire body was made of dragon materials. We'll be following the team tonight, Manet said. You're moving already. Orderon looked at Manet enviously. What about you? Actually, I've already returned from the operation, Orderon said with a bitter smile. Orderon said with a bitter smile, me, Haley, Ilef, and a man called Morid, we just carried out an exorcism operation. The three of us were all defeated by an excessively powerful evil spirit. Then, Morid made his move and ended the battle in 30 seconds. Morid. I heard he's a member of Gaia. He's an official member too. Then why is he doing the mission with us? This is the rule of the supernatural organization. The higher-ups will assign missions to each team, and if it's a complicated mission, the team will work together to complete it. If it's a simple mission, it'll be done by a single member. That member can complete the mission alone, or he can bring a newbie to complete the mission, like you. You've learned so many rules in such a short time. Ha! You need to learn the rules as soon as possible. It'll be good for you. You're going to move soon. Don't you need to prepare? Just now, the vice captain told me that because of my power and because it's my first mission, he doesn't have high expectations for me. He just wants me not to be nervous and to relax. As for how I relax, that's up to me. That's why I came to chat with you. What mission are you on? Just then, Oluntarai walked over. Oluntarai also changed into an official member's equipment. Manet, how's your side? Not bad, Manet replied. How about you? Oluntarai and Manet were both intelligent characters. Both of them became official members at the same time. Even though the two of them belonged to different squads, but it was inevitable that they would compare each other. Just then, Gaia walked over. Aluntarai, follow me. Aluntarai immediately followed Gaia. They arrived at the Tower of Trials. Press your hand on that mark. Around 10 seconds later, Aluntarai came out. How do you feel? Wah, Aluntarai knelt on the ground and vomited. You don't look very comfortable. Aluntarai wiped the residue off her lips and barely recovered. Captain, what's that? The trial is also the standard. When you have the power to pass the first level, you'll have the power of an official member. What's the standard? Kill 100 monsters and automatically pass the first level.
Chapter 3084. 2 days later, Manit walked out of the Crypt Demon's cave weekly. The fresh air almost moved him to tears. But more importantly, he had benefited a lot from the process of this operation. After the mission, Manit felt like he had grown a lot. Even though he barely fought and even had teammates to protect him. But Manit felt like his body and mind had been remolded. His captain and teammates were powerful. The enemies were also powerful monsters. Whoosh, his teammates came out of the cave too and let out long sighs. No matter how many times I come, I can't get used to the Crypt Demon's lair. Lit Grove looked defeated too. Jalanash followed behind. You stayed here for 3 days and 3 nights. You're still not used to it. Stop. I don't want to talk about the past. Every time Lit Grove thought back to when he first met Gene C. He wanted to cover his face and run. Captain, that powerful magical beast's entire body is a treasure. Are we just going to give it to the Crypt Demons? We're not giving it to them. It's not convenient for us to bring it away. The Crypt Demons will dismember the magical beast for us. They'll keep the meat for themselves and pack the magic materials. They'll send them to us in 2 days. They'll send them along with the reward. Reward? Dollars? Of course not. What are you thinking? They're Crypt Demons. Do you expect them to use human currency? They'll give us underground specialties. What specialties? Earth Essence. It can increase magic power. Also, it increases as much as you eat. There's almost no upper limit. In other words, if you have unlimited Earth Essence, you can increase your magic power limitlessly. Of course, it's limitless in theory. I don't know if there's really no upper limit. Earth Essence. That's expensive, right? If you sell it on the market, it's indeed very expensive. Lit sold it before. You can ask him how much he sold it for. Lit Grove snickered. His father had been in financial trouble before. So, he didn't have much pocket money. Then, he sold the Earth Essence on the market for pocket money. Manit turned to look at Ritter Grove. The price on the black market is about $30,000 per gram. If you sell it to a magic shop, the price will be even higher. However, the magic shop's transaction method is too troublesome. It will take at least a week for a large transaction to go back and forth. So, if you are in urgent need of money, it is more convenient to sell it to the black market. 30,000 USD per gram. How much will we get this time? About 100 grams. Jalanash said, give 40% to the headquarters. We'll split the remaining 60%. I'll take 15%, and you guys split the rest equally. Manit gasped. There were 6 people in their team. Jalanash would take 15%, and the remaining 45% would be divided equally among the 5 of them. This meant that he would get 9 grams of Earth Essence.
According to the black market price, wouldn't he get 270,000 US dollars? I advise you to use your first harvest on yourself. There won't be anyone to protect you next time, Lit Grove said. With your current magic power, these 9 grams are enough to double your magic power. $270,000 won't be enough to double your magic power. Manette instantly calmed down. He immediately understood the crux of the matter. In order to establish a foothold in the team, one had to perform well. Not every mission could be solved with one's brain. Some missions were purely combat. If one wasn't strong enough, would he have to rely on someone else to protect him? If you're really short of money, you can make some deals with the crypt demons. Some of their specialties are quite valuable. Of course, we have a principle. We definitely can't cheat our allies. As for how you do it, it's up to you. Leader, I understand. President. Haley finally returned to the headquarters. What is it? Chen Zhao looked at Haley, who had come to find him. President, you said last time that I can ask Ares to teach me. You didn't lie to me, right? But you need it. Do you? Yes, I do. With your power, you are far from being able to get a god to teach you, right? It's not magical guidance, Roland said. Then what? Please allow me to keep it a secret. Chen Zhao shook his head. If you can't give me a satisfactory answer, I won't let Ares come into contact with you. I only want to see him once. Once is enough. Give me a reason. Chen Zhao was determined. I'm a descendant of God. Haley said. You? A descendant of God? Chen Zhao studied Haley. It's not awakened, Haley added. My family has always said that we are descendants of the noble northern Protoss. Which myth is the northern gods from? Chen Zhao asked, confused. It's the Norse myth, Haley said. My family has always called it the northern gods. Ah. You said you're a descendant of the Norse gods? Yes. Haley nodded affirmatively. Then why are you looking for Ares? I want to know how to activate the bloodline of God. Sure, come with me. If there was anyone more suitable to teach Haley, it was undoubtedly Frigga. After all, Frigga was a diva in Norse mythology. Chen Zhao brought Haley home. Frigga, look at her. Haley didn't know Frigga. She didn't understand why Chen Zhao brought her to this woman. Didn't they agree to let her meet Ares? Frigga was currently teaching little Jerlin and Larissa magic lessons. She glanced at Haley. Ha! The bloodline of Bader's descendants is too thin. Haley was shocked. What was this woman's background? She could see through her in a single glance. Hello, dear lady. May I know who you are? Frigga. Who does this name remind you of? Diva. How is that possible? Logically speaking, Bader's descendants were Frigga's descendants. However, this wasn't the case among the gods. Chapter 3085. So, boss, is she looking for me? Frigga glanced at Haley and then at Chen Zhao. Yes, she said she wants to awaken the divine bloodline. Is that right? Haley nodded. She stepped forward and said, Honorable lady, I want to awaken the divine bloodline. What do I need to do? Frigga glanced at Haley and then shook her head. It's useless. It doesn't matter whether you awaken it or not. How is it meaningless? If it's a bloodline within 10 generations, it might be of some use. It'll help your cultivation. But if you awaken the divine bloodline after more than 30 generations, your cultivation will drop instead of rising. Are you sure you want it? How can this be? How can this be? You're lying to me, right? No matter what bloodline awakens, it requires energy. If a normal person awakens their bloodline, it consumes their life force. That's why those with special bloodlines sometimes don't live as long as normal people. For someone like you who has awakened magic, awakening your divine bloodline will require a huge amount of magic power. With your magic power and the level of your bloodline, you'll need to inject at least half of your magic power. Your divine bloodline is so thin. Even if it awakens, it probably won't be of much help to you. So, do you still want to awaken the divine bloodline? Then awaken it. Her cultivation is so low anyway. It won't be a pity even if it's all destroyed, Chen Zhao said casually. It'll only take a few months to recover her current cultivation. Frigga glanced at Chen Zhao and then at Haley. What's your decision? Haley was clearly not as open-minded as Chen Zhao. After all, this concerned her future. Chen Zhao could easily make a decision. That was because it had nothing to do with him. But Haley was different. Let's do a simple calculation, Frigga said. How old are you now? 17, 6 months. How old were you when you started learning magic? 8. In the 7 years before the age of 15, I estimate that your magic value is about 10% of your life's magic value. Now, you only have 6 months left before you turn 18. According to the usual ratio, half a year is 5% magic value. So, from the age of 15 until now, plus the magic value before the age of 15, it is 35%. Even if you consume 15% of your magic power to awaken your bloodline, you will still have 20% of your magic power left. After awakening, with the blessing of the Protoss bloodline, your growth speed is expected to increase by 10%, which is 65% of your magic power growth in the rest of your life. In other words, even if you awaken your magic power, you will lose more than you gain. But this was the truth. Chen Zhao shook his head. Your calculation method is wrong. You didn't calculate her growth after I provided her with resources. According to the supernatural organization standard, she didn't even accumulate 1% magic power in her previous life. So, I think her awakening value is much higher than not awakening. Also, the purity of her bloodline can be increased. Haley suddenly looked at Chen Zhao. Bloodline purity can be increased. Frigga glanced at Chen Zhao. Use your ancestor's blood. But my ancestor is the god of light, Balder. If you're willing to sign an even stricter contract, I'll help you get Balder's blood, Chen Zhao said, smiling. Haley's eyes widened in disbelief. What kind of contract? You must serve the supernatural organization for the rest of your life. You're not allowed to betray the organization. Once you betray the organization, it has the right to enslave your soul. She had to admit that Chen Zhao's requirement was a bit too much. Haley hesitated. Chen Zhao continued, according to Frigga's calculations, it's meaningless even if you have all the magic power in your life. Other than the 2 newbies, Minette and Aluntarai, all the official members of the supernatural organization have more than 100 times more magic power than you. When you reach their level, you'll realize that magic power will become weaker and weaker. How? Doesn't more magic power mean more power? Chen Zhao and Frigga both laughed. Even if I have 100 or 1,000 times more magic power than him, I'm still not his match, Frigga said. How can that be? Even if a herbivore eats 10 times more than a carnivore, it still won't be a match for a carnivore. When you reach our level, you'll understand. No, actually, when your magic power accumulates to a certain level, you'll realize that no matter how much magic power you accumulate, it'll be meaningless. The characteristics and compatibility of magic will show. Right now, you're still in the stage where whoever has more magic power can cast more spells and more powerful spells. Now, no matter if it's me or him, we can cast even the most powerful spells easily. By then, we won't be pursuing magic power anymore, but strengthening our magic characteristics and compatibility. Whatever, it's still too early for you right now. Haley didn't really understand, but Frigga's words still helped her a lot. A smile appeared on Frigga's face. Looks like you're quite smart. Are you the Celestial Queen? Haley asked carefully. If you think so, then so be it. If you don't, then so be it. Thank you for your teachings, Celestial Queen Frigga. Please help me awaken. Have you made your decision? Rather than saying it's a decision, it's more like I have no other choice, Haley said. Haley's talent was average, but she was smart. She knew where her future was. Since the supernatural organization could give her a future, it was not a bad idea to sell her future to them. What do I need to do? You don't need to do anything. Just stand still. Frigga walked up to Haley and tapped her forehead with her finger. For Frigga, it was easy to help a descendant of a god awaken her bloodline. It wasn't like she was turning her into a demigod. She was just awakening her bloodline. Haley felt an unfamiliar power flow into her body. Then something in her seemed to be ignited. At first, it was a bit warm, then it became hot. Use your magic power to dispel this feeling. Otherwise, it'll automatically absorb your life force. If you don't want to die young, pour in as much magic power as you can. Haley was shocked. Was it going to start just like that? She thought there would be some kind of ceremony. But the process was so simple that she didn't know what to do. Chapter 3086. Frigga had miscalculated something. Haley's awakening process was smoother than expected. But this wasn't a good thing. On the contrary, it meant that her bloodline was thinner than Frigga had imagined. If Haley used up more of her magic power reserves, it meant that her divine bloodline was stronger. But she had only used up 30% of her current magic power reserves and completed the awakening. This meant that her divine bloodline was very, very weak. Frigga, looks like you're wrong sometimes, Chen Zhao said, chuckling. He didn't really mind. With Haley's talent and potential, it didn't matter if it was a little more or a little less. Anyway, he was going to upgrade her bloodline. Frigga wasn't angry. She didn't even get angry at her own misjudgment. Her ancestor used some method to awaken. This method can succeed, but the price is sacrificing the potential of her descendants. Won't her awakening now sacrifice the potential of her descendants? These are two completely different awakening methods. Moreover, would I choose the inefficient method that would bring me endless trouble? Alright, Frigga had her own pride. After sending Haley to the car, Chen Zhao said as he drove, I'll bring you Baldur's blood as soon as possible. After you try it, you can sign the contract. Also, when we get back to the headquarters, you can go to West and apply for some resources. It can replenish your magic power as soon as possible. President, there are many, many gods like you in this world. Actually, Haley wanted to call him a monster, but after some thought, she felt that calling him a god was more suitable for their current relationship. I'm not a god. But even gods serve you. Ares, the god of war in Olympus, and even Frigga, the queen of heaven in Norse, serve you. I'm just stronger than them, Chen Zhao said calmly. There are many ways to become strong. Becoming a god isn't the only choice. Of course, some of my friends choose to become a god. President, you didn't become a god because being a god isn't good? It's not that it's not good, it's just that it's not suitable for me. Moreover, with my current strength, I can even call myself a god. The gods that you and I know are actually powerful existences with certain characteristics. In the eyes of ordinary people, as long as they are powerful and exceed their understanding, they can be called gods. Since you're so powerful, why is the supernatural organization's reputation so small? There are benefits to having a small reputation. The government won't be afraid, and the other powers won't be wary. In Chinese terms, it's like getting rich quietly. No one will go against a weak supernatural organization. Even if they want to be our enemy, they won't take us seriously. We have the power to obtain large amounts of resources without attracting attention. What's so bad about that? Haley was speechless. Okay, he was right. Before she joined the supernatural organization, she had deliberately inquired about its reputation. The results shocked her. Apparently, the supernatural organization had a hard time getting rid of the spirits in a haunted community. But now that he thought about it, he realized how ridiculous the rumor was. Any one of the members of the supernatural organization that she knew could easily wipe out a haunted community. The supernatural organization's current situation was good. The newcomers all performed well. The improvement was rather obvious. Of course, this was because they were too weak to begin with. Therefore, any growth would be especially obvious. For those who only had 1 yuan, if they got 1 yuan, it would be doubled. But for those who had 100 yuan, even if they got 1 yuan, they would be ignored. The youth supernatural fighting competition also ended successfully. The people from the government happily picked up the top 4 contestants. This meant that they would be part of the government from now on. The top 4 were also happy that they had finally found an organization. Chen Zhao entered the Tower of Trials again. Level 12. Chen Zhao had recently consolidated his Ascension state cultivation. He felt that there was an obvious improvement, so he planned to challenge level 12. When Chen Zhao entered level 12, he saw an extremely vast and desolate world. However, the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was extremely dense here. Chen Zhao spread out his senses. He hadn't found the guardian of level 12 yet. Chen Zhao was surprised. There would be a difficulty increase every 3 levels. It was considered a small obstacle. At level 6, the difficulty increased exponentially. It was considered a big obstacle. Chen Zhao believed that level 12 was also a big obstacle. So, the guardian would be abnormally powerful. But where was the enemy? In the previous stages, the gatekeepers would take the initiative to attack. But now, Chen Zhao hadn't seen the guardian after so long. Did he have to find the guardian himself? Chen Zhao flew into the sky. There was nothing there either. However, when Chen Zhao flew to a higher altitude and looked down, he realized that the world below was a giant head. Chen Zhao didn't know if it counted as a head. The head turned around. It was a demon's head. It was probably bigger than the moon. The demon's head opened its mouth and spat out black and red flames. Could this demon's skull be the guardian that he was about to face? Or, was the world itself the guardian? Just then, the demon's head discovered Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao focused his eyes. The demon's head was no longer spitting out flames. Instead, it was sucking. Of course, the suction wasn't enough to suck Chen Zhao in. The mountains, air, and flames on the surface of the demon's head were all sucked into its mouth. The next moment, the demon's head suddenly spat out all the demons. Chen Zhao sucked in a breath of cold air. These demons were all at least mid-level, and they all had domains. However, their eyes were empty and lifeless. What was this demon's head? Or who was he? Could he create demons? But it seemed like he was still a step away from creating life. The demons he'd created were extremely powerful and there were countless of them. But he couldn't create life. Chen Zhao waved his arm and dark lava covered the sky. Instantly, the dark lava covered the sky and enveloped all the demons. Then it swallowed and the area of the dark lava grew by quite a bit. But no matter how much the dark lava grew, it didn't mean much to Chen Zhao. The dark lava couldn't increase Chen Zhao's upper limit anymore. The dark lava turned into a giant fist and smashed down on the demon's head. The demon's head was smashed off its original position. Chen Zhao couldn't help but frown. This demon's head seemed a bit weak. If it was only at this level, it wouldn't be a threat to him. Was this the 12th level? Chapter 3087. Chen Zhao looked at the huge demon head before him. It seemed to be right in front of him, but Chen Zhao was actually hundreds of kilometers away. It was so huge that Chen Zhao could even feel its terrifying aura. But the demon head didn't pose any threat to Chen Zhao. After all, it only had a head left. Chen Zhao couldn't imagine if this was a complete body. How powerful would it be? But right now, it was just a head. Perhaps to ordinary people or normal spiritualists, he was still an existence that could destroy the world. But in Chen Zhao's eyes, it wasn't enough. Plus, it was hard to say how much consciousness this demon head still had. It attacked Chen Zhao purely out of instinct, or perhaps because of some kind of will. Moreover, its attacks were meaningless. Chen Zhao didn't care how many things rushed at him. He just kept charging forward. He didn't stop until he was in front of the huge mouth. The demon head was still attacking Chen Zhao in the same way. It sucked the surrounding matter into its mouth and then spat out flames and created demons. Chen Zhao thought for a moment and entered the demon head's mouth. He wanted to see how this thing worked. Or rather, how it created demons with flesh and blood. But when he entered the demon head's mouth, Chen Zhao realized that the interior was completely different from what he had imagined. This was a space where countless demon corpses were floating in the air. This space was many times larger than the demon head itself. There was a ball of fire in the center of the space, like the center of the universe. Countless demon corpses surrounded the ball of fire. It was like a meteorite in a galaxy. Inner world. Chen Zhao was surprised. This is an inner world. This place was too similar to Chen Zhao's own inner world. But there were also huge differences. Of course, everyone's inner world was more or less different. It was mainly determined by one's cultivation technique and personal needs. For example, Chen Zhao's inner world also had a ball of fire in the center that looked like a sun. But the entire space was filled with scorching heat. All energy matter was roasted by the heat and turned into flames in the end. This inner world was very different from Chen Zhao's. Just then, Chen Zhao realized that some demon corpses were attracted by the ball of fire in the center. When they got close, the demon corpses shot out a ball of fire and merged into the ball of fire in the center. Then, the demon corpses turned into ashes and dissipated. But in the distance, another demon corpse appeared. No, they were not real corpses to begin with. They were all pieces of flesh without life or souls created by this space. This inner world would not bestow them with life and souls. So even if they looked like demons, they would not be able to defeat them. But in reality, they were no different from the steaks sold in the supermarket. A perfect inner world could generate its own energy and sustain itself. Chen Zhao's inner world was complete. It was the same for the inner world. However, the circulation of Chen Zhao's inner world was different from this one. Chen Zhao sank into deep thought. After a long while, he carefully approached the ball of fire in the middle. The flame was very hot, but it wasn't enough to hurt him. Moreover, it didn't use the same method to deal with Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao tried to analyze it and understand its principles. This ball of flame was ownerless and did not have any consciousness. So, it didn't resist Chen Zhao's power. Instantly, countless images surged into Chen Zhao's mind. The origin of this huge demonic head. It wasn't a demon at all. He had never been one. It was made up of countless devil corpses, millions of devil corpses. In the unknown era of hell, countless demons fought and killed each other. Devil corpses piled up continuously and new demons were born from the corpses. Then, new demons joined the battlefield. Countless demon corpses formed the abyss. Countless new demon races were born from the abyss. After an unknown amount of time, demon kings were born from the abyss. Then, they divided the territory and set the rules. From then on, the war stopped. No more demon corpses were added into the abyss. Naturally, no new demons were born. The abyss was gradually forgotten by the demons. After the abyss gave birth to 6 demon kings, it had long lost its source. Now, all that was left were just leftovers. Regardless, even if it was leftovers. To most demons, it was still an unreachable existence. Some demons entered the abyss by mistake and were immediately swallowed. Suddenly, the dark lava in Chen Zhao's body seeped out uncontrollably. Come back. Chen Zhao immediately controlled the dark lava and retracted it. However, after coming into contact with the ball of fire, the dark lava seemed to come alive. Chen Zhao felt that the dark lava seemed to be evaporating like energy. But after evaporating, the energy automatically attached to Chen Zhao's body. Change the structure. Chen Zhao was a bit surprised. This time, Chen Zhao didn't stop the dark lava from flowing out. On the contrary, Chen Zhao actively let the dark lava flow into the fire. Absorb this ball of fire. Chen Zhao tried to absorb this ball of fire. But after absorbing it into his body, it couldn't merge with Chen Zhao's power. Soon, it seeped out of Chen Zhao's pores and returned to the center. However, Chen Zhao discovered that his gluttonous bloodline was also boiling in his body. It seemed that because of this ball of fire, Chen Zhao's gluttonous bloodline was also changing. Chen Zhao absorbed the ball of fire again. It was still absorbed into Chen Zhao's body obediently. Then it seeped out of his pores. But Chen Zhao could clearly feel that after the flame passed through his nerves, the gluttonous bloodline in his body started to become active. It also started to turn into energy like the dark lava. It was even closely connected to Chen Zhao's bloodline. In the past, the gluttonous bloodline and Chen Zhao's human bloodline were completely different. But now, the gluttonous bloodline was merging with Chen Zhao's human bloodline. Chen Zhao seemed to understand something. This ball of fire didn't contain any energy. Instead, it contained the genetic factors of countless demons. Gluttony and the King of Wrath were born from here. They were also children of the abyss. So, their genetic factors also existed here. No matter what Gluttony and the King of Wrath had gone through after being born, they could grow to the level of demon kings. But this place had their foundation. So, this ball of fire just instinctively started its work. It would merge the genetic factors of Gluttony and the King of Wrath and reshape it. Just like how it had created countless demon races in the past. Chapter 3088. Chen Zhao called this flame the primordial flame. This flame couldn't create a demon king. It just instinctively created and fused all kinds of demon bloodlines. Then it created new demons. Chen Zhao realized that his hair was falling out. It was replaced by a head of white hair. Chen Zhao rubbed his head with a bitter smile. It seemed like he would have to dye his hair when he got out. Chen Zhao knew the changes in his body like the back of his hand. Even at his level, it was impossible. He could clearly feel every change in his body. Even if it was a cell disease, Chen Zhao could notice it. This was also why diseases couldn't attack Chen Zhao anymore. What was supernatural? First, it was power that surpassed nature. One's body was also a part of nature. One's body was the most difficult part to defeat. Right now, Chen Zhao had done exactly that. Chen Zhao absorbed the flame into his body again and then expelled it. However, the bloodlines of Gluttony and King of Wrath were extremely high-level bloodlines. So, there wasn't much in the flame that could make up for the genetic factors of these two bloodlines. This flame was more about fusion. It helped Chen Zhao better fuse the two bloodlines. This flame could record genetic factors and help people fuse bloodlines. It was like a fusion machine. Chen Zhao suddenly thought of a question. Could he add God's blood? He had a lot of God's blood. Chen Zhao took out a drop of God's blood and dripped it on the flame. At the same time, he swallowed another drop. Then he absorbed the God's blood again. It worked. When the flame flowed in his body, the God's blood in his stomach seemed to be activated too. It fused into Chen Zhao's bloodline. A very slight change. It might not even be 1 in 10,000. It was even thinner than Haley's bloodline, which had been separated by 30 or 40 generations. One reason was that Chen Zhao's bloodline was already strong enough. Other than fusion, this flame could also be used as an optimization program. It could write more outstanding factors into the bloodline. Chen Zhao tasted more God's blood, but most of it didn't change him at all. After all, a lot of God's blood was repeated. Plus, the God's bloodline wasn't very helpful to Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao used more than 10 portions of God's blood from different deities. In the end, he increased the God's blood from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 1,000. It was still very thin. Chen Zhao took out a piece of flesh. Hercules' flesh. This was the first time Chen Zhao had killed a god. Although he was only a demigod, Heracles still possessed power that surpassed most gods. Back then, Chen Zhao had destroyed Hercules. However, Chen Zhao still thought that the flesh of a god was good stuff. He had collected a lot of Hercules' flesh. Now, it came in handy. Chen Zhao ate a small piece of Hercules' flesh. Then he inhaled the flames. No matter where, barbers seem to like to promote themselves. No matter where, barbers like to promote themselves. How long? Half an hour. Chen Zhao checked the time. Okay. Chen Zhao lay down on the bed. The pretty barber massaged his head. She bent down and whispered into Chen Zhao's ear, "Sir, we have more services here." "Thank you, but no need." In the United States, there were a lot of businesses that sold dog meat under sheep's skin. Beauty salons, gyms, or food bars. But these places were all high-end. Even if they didn't need special services, they still had to pay a lot. Moreover, the staff didn't work for just anyone. From the floor-to-ceiling windows, Chen Zhao could see the people in the parking lot. Therefore, they could clearly see what kind of cars the customers who came here were driving, and thus determine how much money they could get from the customers. Clearly, Chen Zhao's car tempted them. "Sir, I know many positions, and I can't." Chen Zhao took out a few $100 bills from somewhere. "Wake me up in half an hour. I'm going to sleep." "Yes, sir." The hairdresser's face lit up with joy. Chapter 3089. Chen Zhao was pushed awake, but he realized that he wasn't in a hairdresser's shop. Instead, he was in an underground tunnel with a few leather bags tied to him. It was the beautiful hairdresser from before who pushed Chen Zhao. "Miss, isn't the service in your shop a bit too rich?" "Sir, do you not understand your current situation? Or do you already understand and still have the courage to talk to me like this? Fine. Do you want money or your life? Smiling, Chen Zhao looked at the beautiful hairdresser. The hairdresser pushed Chen Zhao into an underground room. There were 2 people there. They wore white coats and covered their faces with masks. You have 2 choices now. Call your family and pay a ransom, or we can sell your organs for money. The 2 men lifted Chen Zhao's shirt and moved their scalpels around Chen Zhao's stomach. When the bone-chilling scalpels touched his skin, one's hair would stand on end. Of course, Chen Zhao was an exception. Can I have a mirror? Chen Zhao asked. Mirror? The 3 people in the basement were confused. What mirror? I'm here to dye my hair. I want to know how it's done. Ha! The 2 men in white coats laughed out loud. If it's hair, I can shave off all your white hair. That way, you won't have to worry about it. Just then, a drop of water dripped from the basement and landed on one of the men's face. Fuck, how come it's seeping? Of course. This is an underground sewer. How can you expect the environment here to be good? I heard that someone died here before. The 2 men discussed as if no one else was around. Hey, let's get down to business, the beautiful woman called. Oh, right. Kid, what do you think? Do you want money or your life? Give me a mirror first. I want to know if I dyed my hair. Fuck. The 3 all looked unlucky. This guy was so troublesome. The beautiful woman took out a mirror. Look, it's done. She decided that after she got the money, she would shave off all of Chen Zhao's hair. Another drop of cold liquid landed on the man's face. Fuck. The man looked up and his expression changed. Lot. What are you doing? Saxy, don't bother me, hurry up and make your choice. Lot. Head. At this moment, a lump of rotten flesh fell from above, directly enveloping Lot. Wow. What is this? The rotten flesh began to seep into Lot's mouth, nose, and ears. Cough cough. Hurry up and get rid of this thing. It's too disgusting, but Sax and the beautiful woman couldn't help but take a step back. Because they could see that the rotten meat was alive. Hurry. Hurry up and help me. I'm in so much pain. Lot was wrapped up by the rotten flesh and could not get up. Furthermore, the skin that came into contact with the rotten meat was rapidly swelling and blistering. Lot struggled and pulled over the bed with Chen Zhao tied to it. Chen Zhao also stood up and stretched his limbs. He turned a blind eye to what was happening around him. It was as if it was an ordinary thing. Save me. Save me. Lot saw that his companion was ignoring him. He could only pray that Chen Zhao could save him. Chen Zhao squatted down and used his finger to pick up the rotten flesh. He glanced at Lot, who was buried underneath. Then he shook his head. You can't be saved. This thing has already entered your body. Even God can't save you. Soon, your body will become a part of it. You're not afraid of this. The beautiful woman looked at Chen Zhao in fear. This thing, a living rotten corpse. It should be someone who died in this sewer. After the corpse rotted, a spirit took over. In the end, the spirit was also corroded by the corpse and became like this. Chen Zhao waved his nose. This smell is really strong. The 2 hiding in the corner wanted to go around the wall and escape. However, the zombie seemed to be aware of their plan. It suddenly stretched out a few rotting strips of flesh like a spider web, blocking the exit. The living rotten corpse seemed to know that Chen Zhao was not easy to deal with, so it did not intend to attack him at all. Lot, who was wrapped up by the living rotten corpse, was already silent. He was not dead yet, but his body had lost its function. This only made him feel more pain. Chen Zhao did not plan to help him. This had nothing to do with him anyway. Just then, the beautiful woman's pupils suddenly contracted. Because a shadow had appeared behind Chen Zhao. The shadow slowly formed into a figure. The Grim Reaper. It was the legendary Grim Reaper. Chen Zhao felt it too. He turned around. Blackie, why are you here? I'm here for them. My death sense tells me that they must die. The beautiful woman's face paled in fear. Since she had seen Blackie, she had naturally heard their conversation. But you, why are you here? Chen Zhao adjusted his collar. Would you believe me if I said I'm lost? Blackie ignored Chen Zhao. He just paced around the basement, waiting for the two to die. Just then, Sax grabbed a bench and tried to use it to push his way out. But one of the living rotten corpse's strips of flesh suddenly turned into a fist. It smashed the bench and stuck to Saxy's arm. Saxy struggled and tried to shake it off. He wanted to throw the strip of flesh away. The corpse's poison seeped into Saxy's arm through his skin. The bone-piercing pain made Saxy struggle even more crazily. But he couldn't get rid of the meat stuck to his arm. Instead, the meat stuck even tighter and climbed up his arm like a snail. This guy is hopeless, Chen Zhao lamented. Just then, the beautiful woman suddenly knelt before Chen Zhao. I beg you, save me. I'll do anything you want me to, my body, my everything, can be yours. Chen Zhao, you have a wife. If you have an affair, I'll tell Fei Lai, Blackie said darkly. Fuck. Chen Zhao rolled his eyes. I'm not interested in her. I curse you. I curse you to die a horrible death. The beautiful woman roared hysterically. I hope you go to hell after you die. Sorry, going to hell might be the best reward for me. I know many people there, Chen Zhao said, chuckling. Chen Zhao chuckled. Oh, you're probably going down there too. I'll give you something. Consider it the fee for dyeing my hair. Chen Zhao walked up to the beautiful woman and tapped her forehead with his finger. A spark drilled into her body. Then it seeped out of her skin and returned to Chen Zhao's palm. Chapter 3090. Chen Zhao heard the beautiful woman's cries behind him. But this didn't stop Chen Zhao. A while later, Blackie followed him out too. The woman's cries stopped too. Is it over? Yes. Blackie nodded. When Chen Zhao left, he sealed the entrance of the sewer. As an outstanding citizen, Chen Zhao even called the police to report the incident. He said that the barbershop was involved in prostitution. In the basement, the woman who was supposed to be dead suddenly opened her eyes. She looked around blankly. There was nothing. What happened? Was it a dream? The woman slowly climbed up. There were still some traces left at the scene. The woman's expression turned serious. She recognized the traces. The woman quickly searched her body. She wasn't sure if she was still alive. Suddenly, the woman felt nauseous. Then she vomited on the spot. The thing she vomited out was actually that rotten corpse. The woman shrank into a corner in fear. However, the zombie didn't attack her. Instead, it slowly wriggled out of the basement. The woman felt her stomach churn again. Why was the zombie in her body? Why wasn't she dead? The woman's mind was blank. She walked in a daze. Suddenly, she realized that the exit was gone. The woman couldn't even cry out for help. She had no choice but to find another way. The woman walked in the smelly sewer for a long time. Finally, she saw light up ahead. The woman hurriedly rushed out. The exit of the sewer was the sea. The woman didn't care. She jumped into the sea below. After washing off the filth and stench, she gulped down a few mouthfuls of seawater and climbed ashore. The woman just lay on the reef, panting heavily. The woman didn't know what was wrong with her. But it was definitely not normal. Just then, a few punks dressed in punk clothing arrived nearby. They saw the woman in tattered clothes. Although she was in tatters, she was very pretty. Very pretty. These hooligans seemed to have some bad thoughts. "Hey, pretty. Do you mind playing with me?" The woman got up and sat up, although she had made some deals. She'd made some deals before, but she clearly didn't trade with these punks. The people she was willing to trade with were either rich or powerful. Men who were willing to spend thousands of dollars on her every time were her targets. Therefore, after she recovered some of her strength, she planned to leave. However, those gangsters surrounded her relentlessly. "Beauty, don't be like this. We are very sincere." It was getting late, and there weren't many people around. After all, they were near the exit of the sewer. It was definitely not a bustling area. Therefore, this also gave these gangsters courage. As soon as they went up, they wanted to use force. Their hands and feet took advantage of the situation as they pushed and shoved. "Get out of my way, you scum." The woman pushed the gangster in front of her away a few steps. "Fuck you." The hooligan flew into a rage out of humiliation and slapped the woman's face. At this moment, an evil flame rose in the woman's heart, and she returned the slap to that hoodlum. However, the hooligan's neck was twisted and he fell to the ground. "Andrew." "Fuck," as she knocked Andrew out. "Teach this woman a lesson." The woman suddenly felt pain in her abdomen. A dagger had been stabbed into her abdomen. The woman's pupils suddenly turned red. Her fingernails all fell off, and sharp bone spikes grew out of her fingertips. "Go to hell." The woman used all her strength to slash the face of the hooligan who stabbed her. The other hooligans were terrified and turned to run. However, at this moment, the bone spikes on the woman's 10 fingers suddenly shot out. The backs of those hooligans were all pierced, and each bone spike left a bull-sized hole in their backs. The woman looked at the corpses and came to her senses. The woman almost collapsed. She finally realized. She wasn't normal. No, she was very abnormal. She seemed to have become something that she couldn't understand. At this moment, the woman's body had already returned to normal. The woman didn't understand what she had become. Maybe that man knew. No, he definitely knew. He was the one who did all of this. The woman was now even more afraid that she would need to eat people. She was afraid that she would completely become a monster. She walked barefoot for an entire night before returning to her home. She hid in her room, not wanting to go out, and not daring to go out. Fortunately, her diet didn't change. Except that her appetite had become very big. Nothing else had changed. After a few days, the woman began to familiarize herself with her changes. She realized that she had 3 non-human forms. One of them was the form that she had killed those hooligans on the coastline on the first day. However, this form couldn't be actively controlled and would only appear when she was emotionally agitated. On the second day, she appeared when she received a call from home. Her grandmother had passed away. She was her only relative. She called this form the silver scale form. When she entered this form, her rationality would be slightly reduced, but overall, she could still maintain it. Silver patterns would appear on her body, and some silver scales would appear on her skin. A curved horn would grow on her left forehead, and her body would grow slightly taller. Her 10 fingers would become abnormally sharp, and her pupils would be red with a strange pattern. The second form was the mad demon form. She could actively transform her body into the form of a demon. Her upper body would become abnormally strong, and even her feminine characteristics would disappear. Her entire body would be pitch black, and she would be 3 meters tall. Her strength would become extremely terrifying. She had used this form to sneak out at night, and her hands could barely lift the front of a large truck. The third form was the dark soul form. She could turn her body into a ghost-like form that could pass through physical objects. This form didn't have any sense of touch, smell, or taste. In fact, she couldn't eat at all. Of course, she didn't have any attack power. At least, she didn't have any lethality against physical objects. However, she used this form to steal some money. At certain times, this dark soul form was very useful. However, it was different from a ghost. Although this form was similar to a spiritual body, it could be seen by ordinary people. After a few days, she had gradually gotten used to her current changes. She didn't have the initial panic, and now she was secretly happy. This meant that she didn't have to worry about money anymore. She could break into any place, including the bank's vault. Of course, her dark soul form couldn't move her physical body, so it was obviously unrealistic to steal from the vault. At most, she could go to some stores to steal. After entering the store, she would find the surveillance's blind spots, destroy the surveillance, and then steal the cash register. However, a bank vault was a completely different concept. Chapter 3091. West was surprised that Qin Zhao had come to the headquarters every day in the past half a month. But this was also a good thing. At least he could make decisions on the spot. As the president of the supernatural organization, Qin Zhao wasn't good at anything other than his combat ability. West was basically the one who did all the work for him. But there were still some things that Qin Zhao had to decide on. Qin Zhao entered the Tower of Trials every day. On the 12th floor, he used the ball of primordial flame to refine his bloodline. After a few days of refining, Qin Zhao had obtained a sliver of primordial flame. It was very, very small, only 1,000th of the total amount of primordial flame on the 13th floor. But this sliver of primordial flame still contained the genetic factors of billions of demons. He only had 2 to 3 hours every day. As soon as he left the Tower of Trials, he was caught by West. President, ever since the spiritual tide, supernatural cases have been increasing. Do we not have enough people? If not, we can recruit more. No, it's a man-made crime using supernatural powers. There are at least 30 supernatural criminal groups in California. They're very troublesome. Unlike those supernatural incidents, the evil spirits or magical beasts that breed don't hide. They basically stay in one place and cause trouble. However, the supernatural criminal groups are different. They know how to hide themselves. There are 30 in California. At least 30. Are there any in L.A.? There are 2. Our men have been keeping an eye on them for a long time, but they haven't made any moves. Morid and Henry are now undercover agents in those 2 organizations. Recently, a group of people appeared. Judging from the crime scene alone, they are clearly different from the previous 2 criminal groups. It should be the 3rd one, but they are probably a group of newbies. Our men have already locked on to all the members. Give me the information. I'll wipe out the 3 criminal groups in L.A. tonight. California was too big. Even with the supernatural organization's layout, it was too far for them to reach. But L was enough. This was where the supernatural organization's headquarters was. At the same time, Chen Zhao saw L.A. as his own territory. Even the gangs were tightly controlled by the supernatural organization. Not to mention that it was a supernatural crime syndicate, which was absolutely intolerable. West handed Chen Zhao a few documents. Forget about Morid. His strength is considered close to the top. Henry. I remember that his ability seems to be stink, right? A few days ago, Henry used his ability to help that organization complete a bank robbery. Fuck, Henry's life has improved a lot recently. Will he be wanted by the police because of what he did? Through the power of the government, I have suppressed Henry's wanted order. Henry has a family, after all, Chen Zhao said. Try not to give these undercover jobs to them. There were many people in the supernatural organization, and many of them were carefree people. Chen Zhao first went to Henry's undercover organization, an organization called Blessed Power. The name sounded like a cult, but it was actually a criminal organization. There were only 10 core members in the organization, and Henry was one of them. The organization was unlucky to have recruited Henry. Moreover, they had even recruited him as a core member. It took them half a month to control a small gang in a neighborhood. Tim and Bodhi were the ones who reported the power of grace to the supernatural organization. Tim and Bodhi had originally controlled the small gang. However, they suddenly lost contact with them. The original leader also disappeared for no reason. He was replaced by someone who didn't care about them at all. Tim and Bodhi sent someone to communicate with him, but he was chopped up and sent back to them. They were furious at the time. After investigating, they found out that the new leader was also controlled by someone. After a few rounds of investigation, they found out that it was the power of grace. Because of the special structure of the power of grace, almost all the core members were gangsters in the past. Although this supernatural criminal group was using supernatural powers to commit crimes, the rules were still the same as those of the gangs. So West chose Henry at that time. Henry had been a gangster before, so he knew the rules and style of these gangs. The result wasn't too surprising. Henry got into the power of grace with just a bit of contact. Henry wasn't outstanding in the supernatural organization. But compared to the group of people from the power of grace, he could basically kill half of them by himself. However, he wasn't confident that he could keep everyone. So, he played his part. First, he collected information about the core members of the Power of Grace. The Power of Grace wasn't a secretive organization at all. They didn't care too much about keeping it a secret. It seemed that the power they just obtained made them feel like they could be arrogant. In just a few days, Henry knew all the information about the other 9 core members of the Power of Grace. Chen Zhao called Henry. "President, why are you calling me? Is it convenient to talk on your side?" "Yes, go ahead. I'm in charge of dealing with the Power of Grace. We'll start today." "Are the core members all in LA now?" "They're all here." "President, do you need to take care of such a small matter?" Henry couldn't believe it. Chen Zhao was the trump card of the supernatural organization. Usually, anything that could make Chen Zhao take action wasn't a small matter. In his opinion, the Power of Grace was definitely the most insignificant of insignificant matters. He didn't expect Chen Zhao to take care of it. Wasn't this a bit too much? "No one's free, so I'll take care of it. It's mainly because West thinks I'm a bit free recently." "Okay. That was a good reason. Call your people. They'll be in charge of sending the survivors to the headquarters to be locked up and clean up the scene." When dealing with supernatural criminals, usually, killing them on the spot was to clean up the traces. If they weren't killed on the spot and the crime was confirmed, they'd kill them directly if the sentence was more than the death penalty. If it was just a small matter that didn't warrant the death penalty and they weren't killed on the spot, they'd be captured and locked up in the headquarters. President, there's someone with me. Let's be the first. We're at Mingo Building now. When Chen Zhao arrived at Mingo Building, Henry's subordinates were also there. Henry's team was basically doing the dirty work of the supernatural organization, which was to clean up the place. So, they weren't surprised by this kind of mission. But this was their first time working together with Chen Zhao. The two went straight to the building's security room and turned off the surveillance equipment. Chen Zhao and the rest went upstairs. Chapter 3092. Henry, you did well in the last operation. Here's your share. Henry looked at the $10,000 that was pushed to him. Then, he looked up at the man before him. Majeb, we got a few million. Why do I only get $10,000 in the end? Henry, you're new, so you don't know, Majeb said, chuckling. The organization needs to develop, so it can't be evenly distributed. He definitely wouldn't tell Henry that everyone could get $100,000. However, he kept most of Henry's bonuses. He wasn't worried about Henry at all. Henry's ability was good, but his combat ability was just passable. Releasing stench. This ability might cause trouble for him. But it was harmless. At least, that was what Majeb thought. Henry chuckled as he picked up the stack of money and slid it in his hand. Majeb, I don't like greedy people, so our cooperation is over. Henry, I'll say the same thing to you. I don't like greedy people. Those who don't know how to be satisfied die the fastest. I agree. I think so too. Henry nodded. Take this money and apologize to me, or I'll let you learn the rules again. Just then, the door was violently smashed open. Majeb stood up abruptly and stared at the dozen strangers who came in. Who are you? This is my private apartment. Get out. Chen Zhao walked to the sofa and sat down. With a wave of his hand, Majeb was pressed against the wall by an invisible force. Henry, who is he? Majeb. His ability is to change colors. He's like a chameleon, and he can grow scales that can block bullets. He has the ability to climb on smooth walls. His strength and speed are much faster than normal people, and he also has heat perception, Henry said as if he was familiar with everything. Henry. I was just joking with you. The rest of the money is in my safe, including my savings. If you want it, it's all yours. When Majeb saw this scene, how could he not understand the situation? Henry had betrayed him and the organization. However, he thought that Henry had joined another organization of the same type. The man in front of him had used some unknown force to press him against the wall. This ability was clearly much stronger than him, so he decided to admit defeat first. In the worst-case scenario, he would just follow the other party. In any case, it didn't matter who he followed. The power of grace had only been established for a little over a month. Therefore, to the majority of the members, there was no loyalty. What crimes did he commit? Murder, rape, basically any crime that you can think of, he has committed. Crack, Magdeb's neck was broken. Guild leader, we need to be more thorough. His fatality is quite tenacious. The next moment, Majeb's body was squeezed into a ball. Not a single drop of blood was spilled. He used illegal means to seize this house. The victim is now living on the streets. Henry's men quickly cleaned up the scene. Clean up all traces of Majeb. President, we found a large amount of cash in the safe. It's over $10 million. Make up for the money from the bank robbery last time. Divide the rest between Henry and everyone in this operation. Everyone was overjoyed. They were now in a legitimate profession. Moreover, he could earn extra income as a legitimate profession. Their income wasn't low, but getting so much money in one go was still very happy. This still made them very happy. Henry looked at his men and said, "Marco, I know you've been in contact with some bad things recently. You'd better ban it for me. Otherwise, I'll ask Miss Hellies to send you to her private domain to cure your addiction." Chen Zhao glanced at Marco and asked strangely, "Is Helis still in charge of detoxifying people?" "Last time, I helped Miss Helis a little. She said that she could fulfill 3 of my wishes." Most of the time, Chen Zhao wouldn't ask about other people's private lives. However, touching drugs was clearly unacceptable. "Marco, I'll give you a month. After a month, I'll take you for a checkup. If there are any traces of drugs left on your body, I'll send you to the farm where I raise monsters. You'll become their food." "Got it, President. I'll try my best." The others felt lucky that they hadn't touched those things. "I'll give you 10 minutes to clean up the traces here," Henry urged. "We'll be busy tonight. After all, we can't earn extra money every time we do an operation." Henry's sweeper department didn't earn much. Most of the time, they could only rely on their salary to support their families. Of course, their salaries weren't low. In Los Angeles, it was far above the average income. They were originally gangsters, so they had many bad habits. Eating, drinking, and gambling were basically normal operations. There were even some who were addicted to drugs. Chen Zhao planned to purify the sweeper department. He didn't care about bad habits like eating, drinking, and gambling. However, drug addiction was too harmful. It could even become a hidden danger. They were all internal members now, so he couldn't kill them. Moreover, they were in contact with internal secrets. He couldn't let them do whatever they wanted. So, Chen Zhao planned to force them to detoxify. A few minutes later, "Okay, next stop. Henry, lead the way." With Henry leading the way and Chen Zhao as a guarantee, everything went smoothly. It would be strange if it didn't. What was Chen Zhao's level? What was the level of the power of grace? Although all the members of the power of grace had strange abilities, they were an entire galaxy lower. However, there was a difference of an entire Milky Way galaxy. How could he resist? Henry was only responsible for leading the way. His subordinates went to clean up the scene. They wasted almost all their time on the road. In one night, the dozen or so members of the sweeper squad made hundreds of thousands of dollars each. Apart from Henry, only one of the 9 people survived. It wasn't that Chen Zhao was too ruthless, but that the other 8 people deserved to die. The one who survived could even be considered a misdemeanor. He was a young man who had just obtained superpowers. He hadn't done anything sneaky before joining the power of grace. After learning that the main purpose of the organization was to kill and commit arson, he wanted to leave. However, he was afraid of being killed, so he delayed until now. Chen Zhao didn't plan to lock him up for long. He planned to let him out after 2 or 3 months after teaching him a lesson. After the young man was caught, he thanked Henry profusely. He thanked Henry for helping him out. Chapter 3093. Chen Zhao spent half a night on the power of grace. More, it was faster because there were only 3 people he needed to capture. The name was simple and obvious. It was an anti-social organization called Darkness. People with this name were basically waiting to be killed. Unsurprisingly, when Chen Zhao caught the boss, he was still sleeping. He didn't realize he had been caught at all. He was also a young man in his 20s. Chen Zhao was only a few years older than him. But this guy gave off the feeling of being childish. His ability was special. He could control other people's movements through shadows. It was similar to puppetry. He could even control other people's words. The other two were even less impressive. One could teleport short distances, and the other could lock people in mirrors. Chen Zhao was hit by the skill that could lock people in mirrors. He used a bit of force and the mirror cracked. The three concluded that they were very weak. Henry and the other scavengers were somewhat disappointed. There was nothing to be gained from this dark organization. Next was the new criminal organization. It was also formed by a group of hotheads. It was called Paradise of the Fallen. There were many people, but this Paradise of the Fallen had a benefit. They seemed to want to keep it a secret. Everyone lived together. This gave Chen Zhao a chance to catch them all in one fell swoop. There were 15 people in the organization. Although it had only been established for a short time, they had already done many illegal things. Of course, they were all small cases. They stole from supermarkets, stole from supermarkets, stole from supermarkets, and stole from supermarkets. The most serious case was a home invasion. They stole an expensive watch from the victim, worth tens of thousands of dollars. They also injured the victim. This was the most tasteless supernatural organization and spiritualist Chen Zhao had ever seen. Chen Zhao, Morid, Henry, and 2 subordinates. This was an abandoned manor. Judging from the size of the manor, the person who used to live here was definitely a super rich person. However, it was estimated that it had been abandoned for several decades. There was moss everywhere. The Taoist fences and other things were still intact. White pillars could be vaguely seen under the moss. Chen Zhao walked to the iron door. The dozing member heard the noise and opened his eyes in a daze. "Who are you?" The next moment, a vine wrapped around his neck from behind without any warning, and then smashed him against the wall twice. He was dead. "Mo Ida, you've gone too far. You should show the leniency of a senior towards a junior. Guild leader, he's older than me." "All right." The iron door in front of him was violently opened. Then the alarm inside rang loudly. Chen Zhao scratched his forehead. "This is my plan. I don't want to wake them up one by one." Hee hee. Everyone laughed without saying a word. What happened? A group of people ran out of their rooms in a panic. Someone came in. A stranger. "Where's the gatekeeper? Who's on guard tonight?" "That's Halliday." But since that group of people broke into this place, Halliday is either dead or being controlled. This was the truth. A woman walked out. "What are you panicking for?" The woman looked to be in her 30s and was dressed like an elite in the workplace. He didn't know how strong he was, but his aura was quite strong. As soon as she spoke, she stunned everyone present. Vanessa looked at their boss. She'd just been recruited into this organization not long ago. Coincidentally, she and the members of the organization had their eyes on a supermarket that day. Then they teamed up, but then they had a conflict because of the uneven distribution of loot. Then, this woman named Osais appeared and easily defeated her. Osais then extended an invitation to her. Vanessa was worried that she would be killed on the spot if she didn't agree. After joining the organization, she realized that everyone here had special abilities. She'd thought that she was special. But after coming here, she realized that she wasn't that special. At least, she wasn't that special. "Let me see how many uninvited guests there are." Osais closed her eyes, as if sensing. After a few seconds, she opened them again and said, "Only 5. Hearing that, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Some were worried that it was the police. But if it was the police, there wouldn't be only 5. Only 5. We can fight 3 against 1, Osais encouraged everyone. Osais encouraged everyone. Have some confidence in yourselves. Every one of you is the most special. Osai's gaze fell on Vanessa again. Vanessa, work with me. The reason why Osais had taken a liking to Vanessa was because Vanessa's ability was extremely compatible with his. She didn't know why, but when Vanessa was beside her, she felt that her power could keep increasing. Just then, footsteps came from the corridor. With Qin Zhao in the lead, the 5 walked in casually. Sorry to interrupt your meeting. Qin Zhao clapped his hands. Who's the kindergarten class monitor? Come out and talk. Osais frowned. Everyone's expression turned furious. How dare he call the fallen paradise a kindergarten? How arrogant was he? How much did he look down on them? Qin Zhao suddenly saw Vanessa. He couldn't help but tilt his head and stare at her. Vanessa, on the other hand, hid behind Osais in fear. She already recognized Qin Zhao, the culprit who'd turned her into this. You're not dead. That's weird. Qin Zhao looked at Vanessa in confusion. Osais squeezed her head. You know him. He's the one who turned me into this, Vanessa whispered. Why aren't you dead? Qin Zhao asked directly. Sir, who are you? Why did you trespass on our territory? More accurately, you trespassed on my territory, Qin Zhao said. I don't remember trespassing on your territory. All of L.A. is my territory, Qin Zhao said with a smile. You have a big appetite, but do you have the power? Osais clearly thought that Qin Zhao was here to steal his territory. She wasn't worried. As long as it wasn't the government, there was nothing to be afraid of. Osais was different from the others. She'd recruited newbies, young people who'd just awakened their abilities. These young people knew nothing about the spiritual world, so they were easy to control. On the other hand, she was a senior spiritualist. She developed her senior abilities to a certain level. So, she was much more powerful than the others. You look different from them, Qin Zhao said, looking at Osais. Osais' age, tone, and attitude when facing Qin Zhao's group of uninvited guests all seemed to be that of a senior spiritualist. Chapter 3094. Have you ever felt despair? Osais was rather arrogant. In an instant, her body emitted a strong sense of oppression. However, Qin Zhao, Morid, and Scavenger were all unmoved. They weren't affected by Osais' pressure at all. What a joke. This level of pressure was enough to make the supernatural organization retreat. Everyone here had been baptized by dragon might. This level was really not enough. Osais' expression darkened. Vanessa had been by her side for so long. Her power had increased by several levels. But her pressure couldn't shake any of them. Just then, a young man couldn't hold it in anymore and attacked Qin Zhao first. One of the young man's hands froze into an icicle. He swung his fist at Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao didn't even turn his head. The icicle on the young man's fist shattered. Then the bones in his arm shattered too. He was sent flying. Osais' pupils constricted. Back off. He's not someone you can handle. Qin Zhao looked Osais up and down. Show me your power. Osais' arm suddenly swelled like a demon's hand whose skin had completely split open. She swung it at Qin Zhao. At the same time, an arc of flames swept past. But the flames dissipated before they could even touch Qin Zhao. Demon bloodline. This is a fire demon. But it's not enough. Chen Zhao took a step forward. You can attack at will before I reach you. Osai's right arm turned into a demon's hand again. But unlike the red and cracked skin on the left arm, Osai's left arm was covered in pitch-black scales. Terror demon. Chen Zhao was shocked. The same person had two demon bloodlines. Chen Zhao himself had two demon bloodlines, the Glutton bloodline and the King of Wrath bloodline. But it was almost impossible for the two bloodlines to coexist or even be produced. For example, his old friends Sophie and Norris in Hell. Their abitos only inherited the dragon bloodline. But the woman before him actually had two demon bloodlines. Osai's terror demon hand grabbed at Chen Zhao. A ball of black gas tried to bind Chen Zhao. However, the black gas dissipated before it could even touch Chen Zhao. Osai's couldn't help but reveal a solemn expression. She withdrew her hand of Balrog and hand of terror. His figure began to change rapidly, turning into the form of a demon. It was a 4-meter-tall demon with a pair of wings on its back, a pair of legs on its head, and dark red skin. Tyrannical demon. 3 demonic bloodlines. Chen Zhao was even more surprised. No, not demonic bloodlines. Did you borrow demonic power? The tyrannical demon clenched its claws, and 2 beams of red light condensed in its palms, turning into 2 large red swords. Everyone from the paradise of the fallen looked at Osai's in shock. Osai's exuded an aura that made them feel uneasy. Vanessa sensed that Osai's transformation was similar to her own. But it was also different. She couldn't tell what was different. Speaking of demons, Chen Zhao was probably the most familiar with them. The number of demons Chen Zhao had seen and killed was more than the number of grains everyone present had eaten. When the Drow messenger fell into hell during the trial, Chen Zhao had slaughtered millions of demons. Osai's felt his entire body brimming with power. 2 red swords slashed at Chen Zhao. But the result didn't change. The 2 red swords shattered instantly. They didn't even touch Chen Zhao. Osai's felt the pressure pressing down on her face, forcing her to choose to retreat. Chen Zhao took another step forward. Osai's transformed again. This time, she became a skinny demon. The demon's limbs were as thin as bones. Dead Soul Curse Demon, a demon that was good at cursing. Osai's waved his arms and the curse seemed to materialize. It pounced at Chen Zhao with a howl of agony and agony. But, Chen Zhao took another step forward. Osai's also felt the pressure. She'd been very confident. Her power was already outstanding. Now that she had Vanessa, it was like adding wings to a tiger. Logically speaking, no one should be able to defeat her. But she tried a few spells, but they all ended in failure. She couldn't even touch Chen Zhao. Vanessa, lend me your power. What should I do? Vanessa obviously hoped that Osai's could defeat Chen Zhao. Only then would she have a chance to figure out what exactly had happened to her. Use Mad Demon form. Vanessa hesitated for a moment but still used Mad Demon form. Chen Zhao saw Vanessa's change. The demonic genes he'd left in Vanessa's body with the first flame had taken effect. Not only did she not die, but she'd also fused with the demonic genes. Logically speaking, her soul should have been stolen by Blackie and then thrown into hell. Why didn't she die? Chen Zhao also realized that after Vanessa transformed, she started emitting a special power ripple. Osai's, under the influence of this power ripple, actually experienced an obvious improvement. I feel it. Power, this is power. Osai's was overjoyed. The improvement was even clearer and more obvious than the first time. Chen Zhao was surprised. Vanessa wasn't that strong, but she could make all size improve so much. It wasn't just a few % improvement. It was a multiple. Veins popped on all size face. Arrogance was written all over it, as if he'd already won. With a howl, all size turned into a wolf-headed demon. The demon's body seemed to be made of muscles. Every inch of it was filled with explosive power. Flames burned on its claws and its eyes were covered in blood. Wolf demon. However, this wolf demon was 10 times stronger than a pure-blooded one. Crack. The tiles under all size feet shattered. Her subordinates were also forced back by her terrifying aura. This power is amazing. It can even rule the world. Pfft. Ha. Morid, Henry, and the others behind Chen Zhao all burst into laughter. This was too funny. What kind of misunderstanding did she have? Rule the world. Was she dreaming? What are you laughing at? All size lunged at Chen Zhao's group. However, her claws still couldn't reach half a meter in front of Chen Zhao. Hiss, her claws cracked in an instant, and she was sent flying by the impact. Is this the power you get to rule the world? Aren't you underestimating the strong in this world? Chen Zhao was already standing before All Size. All Size stared at Chen Zhao in disbelief. How is this possible? Even this can't work. This was impossible. This was impossible. That's right, you're only defending. You haven't attacked at all. Your defense is only outstanding. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.